Hello, everybody. It is Friday night here on the Heavy Metallurgy YouTube channel, and you know what that means? It's time to get your pet spayed or neutered. Assuming you've already taken care of that today, it's time for another live stream with myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alan, and over here on my side is the best co-host in the business, Mr. Marty the Worm Rectona. Marty, how are we doing tonight?
Doing well. How you guys doing? Another busy week. Fast and Furious flying by, and here we are on Friday night to have a nice little conversation about some music.
Indeed, like we normally are. I want to say a quick hello to everybody filing into the live chat. Good to see you folks. Hope everyone's enjoying their summer. We're kind of right in the thick of it at this point. And also want to say a big hello to Kellen, who we haven't had on for quite a while. It's great to have you back, Kellen.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I have not joined the Friday flagship show for a while, but it's kind of take a break from YouTube for the beginning of 2026. I'm happy slowly coming back into the fold and joining you guys for Friday evening.
Yep, you've reclaimed your throne over on the album club over the past month or two, and it's been great to see you back there, keeping those rascals in order.
Yep. His disappointment for certain albums is legendary. I love it. he's very cautious with his commentary sometimes. Like this past Wednesday.
Yeah. Without you over there, TJ's been sort of, bullying folks, throwing his weight around a little bit, picking stuff that,
he has fled the scene. Yeah. He's run away. I'm sure licking his wounds. He'll be back soon enough to let us know.
Of course.
What we're missing.
Compiling his new list. Yes.
We can only shudder to think.
Yep. It's good to see everybody in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Hope you all had a great week this week. And a lot of stuff been going on Metallurgy. Thanks for checking all that stuff out. We appreciate all of you. And also, before I forget, Discord community link is in the description. Go check us out over there. A lot of good stuff, good conversations throughout the week. Nice little community we have going over there. So definitely go check that out. And also, before I forget, Sunday, 8 o'clock, Mayhem Sundays. Lee Shredbeard. It's over on Shredbeard's channel. Miss A. They're always a good time over there. I might forget at the end of the episode, so let's do it now. There you go.
Yep. Get it in there. Let's see. One other quick one I wanted to get in here. Just a quick shout out to one of the metalheads on the local scene around here. Cliff is dealing with some real nasty health issues at the moment. I've run into him a few times at some of the local record stores. He's seen the show some. So Cliff, if by chance you are watching, best wishes, man. I know a lot of folks in the local area are thinking about you and wishing you absolutely the best.
Hang in there, Cliff. Holy crap, man. Hope it all works out.
Yeah. It's not a great situation, but I'm sure he'll do the best he can. So just want to give a quick shout out since he does watch the show sometimes.
Right on.
All right. Anybody else got other announcements we'd like to make here at the start? Kellen, anything upcoming on Killing for Company you'd like to make folks aware of or stuff like that?
No, there's nothing going on the channel for a while, and I don't anticipate over the next few months there'll be much of anything. I do plan on moving this summer. So I'm sure once I find my new spot and everything gets set up, there'll be an obligatory, hey, this is the new home, new digs, new setup, and so forth.
The room tour and such.
Yeah, exactly. But until then, nothing too special to report.
Good deal. That is quite all right. Well, for tonight, we had a topic idea that, Kellen really liked, and he kind of took the ball, ran with it, and should be a really interesting one. Topic for tonight's episode is going to be talking about songs that we think either are or could be sort of, the modern heavy metal, anthems. That they could be the next wave of big classic songs. Maybe some of them already are. Maybe some of them are close to becoming that. But we wanted to focus on songs that are relatively new. Because when we think about, ask somebody to name classic heavy metal songs, say, name 5 classic heavy metal songs, most people are going to pick things from the 1980s and the 1990s. They're going to pick classic Iron Maiden songs, Metallica songs, Bathory songs, Venom songs. But they're all going to be older songs. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is interesting that you don't see people pick more newer songs. And so that's kind of the crux of tonight's assignment, is to think about what are those modern heavy metal classics that maybe it's time that we started mentioning in the same breath with things like Power Slave and Breaking the Law and Welcome to Hell. So, Kellen, what really I kind of pitched a nebulous idea around this concept. What was it about the idea that kind of really made your ears perk up? Because you seemed to like it as soon as I mentioned it. You got pretty excited.
Yeah, we kind of circled this topic, I believe, when I don't know what the specific title of the stream was, but Lee and I think Dwayne joined us to have a conversation about sort of what happens when a lot of these classic sort of heritage heavy metal bands retire or no longer are touring. And this kind of is not in that world, but specifically talking about songs or sort of anthems for a generation. Here we are 15 years removed from kind of when we were dating this conversation. And I know it's in more recent years, it's been kind of difficult to cast these songs in the same sort of breadth or canon as those classic 80s, 90s tracks. But I do think it's worth considering down sort of the few, decades to come once we get to 2030s, not too far off, 2040. What does 2010 mean, right? Like that's I think difficult for us to take into consideration, but I think it's worthy of at least a conversation and potentially a debate here tonight. And we're all going to approach this sort of based on our own individual experiences within the confines of what heavy metal culture and history meant to us during those years. But they're really sort of important years for me. And I think of where I was during this time period in my life, because a lot happened in between 2010 and 2026 here for me. So it'd be cool to kind of get your thoughts and also where you were in your life when these albums or these tracks were coming out and how you remember them.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Marty, what's your take on all of this business?
Well, when you're younger, growing up in the 80s, late 70s, well, the 70s and the 80s, it was, everything was wide open. You're like an empty hard drive. You're taking in all this information. And since you had less to listen to due to financial restrictions, you have, you tend to latch on to things a little bit more tightly. And, as you collect music and you amass more and more and more stuff, I'm thinking, looking at this pile of music, and there's songs on all of these albums that had an impact on me, but the impact is different. It's like, they say the older you get, your taste changes, or it gets duller, your nerves are duller, you're slower. It's kind of like trying to process all this music after, hearing so much of it. It's kind of in one ear and out the other. So for me, we've also discussed, behind back in the dugout, that we used to be song based, and the more time has gone on, especially when you're dealing with things like atmospheric music, atmospheric black metal, for instance, there isn't, world rocking anthems that really jump out per se on an album. The whole album, the way it's designed, is more of a cinematic experience or an emotionally charged experience. It's meant to be taken as a whole. And I think that was partially due to the creation of the CD medium, where you sit down, you don't have to, there's no breaks in the album. You sit down, you listen to it from start to finish. It becomes more of a full experience as, having to get up and change or flip the tape over or flip the record over. So our listening habits have changed, and so has our perception of the music. A lot of the things we listen to and might name today are all influenced by the things that we grew up with. So it's kind of hard for, some newer things to really jump out as being unique or really have a wow factor. Although that's still, I'm throwing around a generalization here, but
sure.
Yeah. So for me, picking for tonight was a little more difficult because I have kind of succumbed to the album experience. There are some tracks obviously that stand out, but it's typically genre based, power metal songs. There's actually songs in power metal or heavy metal. There's songs that stand out, whereas black metal albums they tend to kind of bleed together. Anyway, I don't know if I kind of went off the rails there on my topic, but your thoughts on that, Alan?
No, some good points brought up there by both of y'all for sure. Yeah, just regarding the date, as Kellen said, 2010, it is a different perspective for some folks. Like for Kellen, yeah, that's, maybe relatively speaking, a formative year. For older fans like Marty and I, 2010 seems like it was yesterday. So it's just like, oh yeah, these songs are brand new. Except they're not brand new. They're 15 years old. I mean, kids born in 2010 are in high school at this point.
Yeah.
So these songs have been around longer than some of us realize. It just time slips by. And I've noticed, I think for many folks, as you get older, it slips by a bit faster. You don't realize how long it's been since 2015 or 2010. It's like, that was over a decade ago. Weird. So you've had these songs around longer than you think.
My son was born.
Oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, the entire time you've seen your kid grow up, that's how long it's taken.
Yeah.
And yes, your point about the different genres is a very valid one. The 21st century's seen a rise and proliferation of more extreme genres. They got started in the 90s, but they've really become entrenched through the 2000s and 2010s. And some of those styles really do focus, more on dissonance, atonality, very long song structures, things that are meant to be, as you said, more cinematic, which is great. It's interesting and immersive. But it doesn't lend itself to being memorable and catchy the same way that anthems by bands like Twisted Sister and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Metallica were a few decades before that.
We're seeing Crimson on a cassette single.
Exactly. Yeah. You have, albums with like one long song. To use one of Kellen, I know really likes the band Arstidir Lifsins. Cool band, but those are not songs that are meant to be like chanted along while everybody's waving their lighters or banging their heads. Those are 20+ minute epics sung in an ancient dead language that are like a very intensive, detailed story being put together. So there is no just throwing up the horns and screaming Slayer when you're listening to Arstidir Lifsins or Edge of Sanity's Crimson or Bell Witch. A lot of these extreme genres just don't lend themselves to that same experience. And they've become a bigger and bigger part of heavy metal over the years. Something else I think that's worth bringing up is the way we're introduced to metal songs has changed a lot since then. There's, a video is not such a thing. There's not a focus on trying to make singles as much. Yes, you have songs that are trotted out as video releases for a lot of bands, but it's nowhere near the level of impact it would have been during the 80s and into the 90s. At that time, the MTV generation, that was a major channel for distributing things, for making people aware of new releases, and for getting people hooked on songs. Nobody does that anymore. That doesn't really exist. Nobody's tuning in to FM radio to necessarily hear the latest releases by Metallica or Megadeth. Nobody's waiting for MTV's daily countdown of videos that really helped get you used to those songs. You would see or hear them several times a day in those mediums. And they're just not really a thing anymore. So I think that also kind of impacts the likelihood that you're going to have these big songs that everybody knows, like you did in previous decades. You couldn't get away from those songs in previous decades. Even if you didn't like the songs very much, you kind of learned them just as part of the background music of your existence.
Yeah.
And now with the decline in singles, radio airplay, and that proliferation of different genres, it just doesn't happen anymore. If you were a metalhead in the 80s, you knew Iron Maiden and Metallica. You knew all the big players. Today, you could be a metalhead and never really crawl out of the black metal scene. If Judas Priest could have something on, getting 5 million views on YouTube, you might never even know it exists. because you're just in a completely different corner of what's now a very, very big underground scene, and you don't pay as much attention maybe to other styles. Not everybody consumes all types of metal. For a lot of people, they just stick to death metal, or they only want to stick to slam, or whatever their genre is. They only want to listen to, power metal. So yeah, it's, as you said, Marty, I think it's understandable that people have gravitated more and more to becoming album people and band people. The emphasis is on those parts of the experience more so than, did you hear the new song by so and so? It's, did you hear the new album by so and so?
I do want to throw something in here before Kellen jumps in.
Sure.
The thing that's kind of interesting is we've all been kind of trained. The whole scene is kind of, people in the chat have been also mirroring this sentiment that everybody's moving to the album experience. But the younger generation, not to be super fatalistic, the younger generation is addicted to clips. I don't know, are kids even listening to songs anymore? I mean, I've even got myself so absolutely deprogrammed, or I'll lay in bed for 40 minutes before I get up looking at 30-second reels. I can't even finish a 30-second reel. I'll watch like the first few seconds of it. Next. I mean, is that going to happen to music too? Is that where this is all going? We've been building up, trying to craft music into the album experience other than the single experience. And now I hear guys like Ola England saying putting out an album is kind of a dinosaur thing to do, release 3 or 4 singles type of thing. It's like, how do we live in this, this musical climate where it's so conflicting? Everything's been moving to this point where you're supposed to enjoy an album, but now they're all, the way technology has grown and people's attention spans, and even people in the scene, Ola's been in The Haunted and 6 Feet Under. He's been in a bunch of stuff doing his own thing. And now he's like, I just put out records because I'm an old guy, but really bands, I would recommend they just release singles. I mean, what do you think about all this, Kellen?
Yeah, I mean, when Alan was talking about the sort of the album experience, because I think in the sort of the background conversation before we were actually talking about getting on for tonight's stream, this got kind of brought up just amongst friends, and talked about how all of us really thought about key albums versus songs. But kind of where I'll pick up kind of where you left off, Marty. I think that might be something that keeps, to some degree, a level of like I don't even want to call it even metal underground, but culturally something that separates a lot of sort of metal diehards. I think it might be people who are still collecting physical media, right? There's like this weird sort of polarization within consuming content where you have the resurgence of vinyl records and people picking up more CDs, etc. There's that cultural aspect. Then you have people who are almost living with music on TikTok. So there's like this completely different culture that exists. And I think heavy metal is still an album culture. I even like the most visible bands, whatever. I know a couple of years ago that the Last Blood Incantation made Time magazine. Like
it did.
That is an album experience, right? But like if we're talking about penetrating cultural consciousness, like that is 100% as mainstream in my mind as you can potentially get. And it is very much rooted in an album experience. Yet I would full send support, a younger generation who's far more technologically savvy than I am, who's, let's say, are living on TikTok and consuming, very short media sort of blurbs in terms of musical exposure. So I do think it's divergent in that regard. So to only say that singles today live and die based on their connection to an album in terms of creating long-term legitimacy, I think that's, I don't quite buy into that full-heartedly. I guess that just is the one kind of piece I'd want to add there, is it does seem like there's a weird sort of polarization happening in how we consume content. And just anecdotally, I know all of us, because we, work with doing reviews for Heavy Metallurgy and get and all these sort of promos, and I know you've been doing it for a long time. I can just say from personal experience, if something's going to make my end of year list, most likely there was a single on that album. Like there was a moment, there was a connection that I made. So it may not be quite as obvious as like making FM radio, but most of the songs that I'm going to be talking about tonight, in the sort of flooded fire hose kind of exposure that we have to new records being released today, most of the connection I have with an album started with a singular moment on a song that sort of penetrated like my whatever flood of information and thought like this one stands out, right? So it may not be promoted in the same way, but many of the albums or songs I'm talking about tonight are connected to great albums. And it might just be not the same sort of single that potentially the way record labels would promote something back in the 80s and 90s. It may not make, Headbangers Ball or something like that, or your favorite local FM radio hour. But I do think when we sort of connect to a singular record, like some of this happened for me on YouTube. I heard a song on YouTube and then I went and I sought it out as a great album. So I still think there's something to be said about sort of singular songs and their ability to sort of keep a generation sort of captive in a sort of specific historic moment. I still think that is happening. It might be through a different sort of outlet or medium, but I still think it plays a role in terms of how we connect to great records.
All right. Good points. Yep. And something else, just to quickly add that's worth remembering, there are big parts of the heavy metal universe that even none of us necessarily pay that close attention to. So there could be some songs out there that are these modern classic anthems that we won't even come close to touching on tonight just because we're not in orbit with those things. Yeah, I'm thinking of more modern bands like Gojira, for example. There may be Gojira songs that are absolutely part of younger fans' DNA that I wouldn't have a clue about because I'm just not into Gojira at all. Lots of bands like that. So if it seems to some folks like we're missing some obvious things, right there again is just kind of the age bias or scene bias. Nobody can hear it all, and nobody's into every particular corner of heavy metal. But yeah, if we're focusing on things that are more underground here or such, well, that's just because that's where we tend to operate. We're not deliberately ignoring those other bands. We're just not familiar with them. They're not stuff that we check out or know very well. Marty, anything else you wanted to circle back around to?
The whole TikTok thing is interesting. I've kind of been afraid of TikTok. I just think it's stupid. But then you see guys like Dennis from Analog Archives who just came out on his channel and said, look, I haven't been on YouTube. I wanted to get a fresh start. So I moved over and started doing things over on TikTok, and I'm getting way more interaction over on TikTok. Younger audience, less people showing racist records. The whole culture of the NS stuff, that's definitely a contingent on YouTube. But he just said it's just a different, younger crowd that are super excited about an old guy showing off thrash records. So it's interesting to, you wonder why, there isn't as much young interaction on YouTube. It's because they're all in TikTok. And I thought TikTok was nothing but, people doing stupid dance moves and, making bullshit things, but to know that there's actually a community over there, it made me go, do I need to check out TikTok? But then I came to my senses and said no. Yep. But it is weird how it's all moving to that, though. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's really interesting. Again, TikTok's not something I ever interacted with. It does not interest me. But again, I'm not a big social media person in any particular platform. But it brings to mind something I was just reading the other day, an interview with a British metal music journalist, and I forget her name, but she worked with a couple of the bigger publications over there for years. And at one point she had started her a new zine, and her impetus for that was she noticed there were a lot of younger fans that were starting to dig these older metal bands. buying their shirts at shows and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, well, I want to make a zine that covers these kind of classic heavy metal for this new generation of kids to read about them and learn about them and such. And what she and her business partners quickly realized was that the magazine did okay, but it wasn't selling to the demographic they thought it would. She wanted to make it as a documentation for the new generation, and none of them were buying it. But they were getting lots of sales and lots of positive feedback from our generations. People were like, this is such a cool magazine. I've been wanting to see something like this that goes back and talks about my old favorite bands. Whereas nobody in the younger crowd was really giving them any feedback because they weren't selling to that demographic. So it ties in with what y'all are saying there, that there may be a younger audience that really would like this, but if we're not approaching them on their platforms, then they're not going to encounter us and we're not going to encounter them. And everyone's kind of moving past each other in opposite lanes that don't ever intersect. So sorry, it just made me think of that because I just read that interview a day or two ago.
No, great.
Yep.
All right.
Well, shall we start doing some rounds? Kellen, how would you like to start this off?
Sure. Yeah, I actually thought it'd be fun to kind of go through my list chronologically. So just talk about what was going on. And this is a label around 2010, really the 2000s, that I paid a good amount of attention to. And I don't know what the status of the label. I don't think they put out a lot of stuff now. But I actually was living abroad in South Korea when I heard this record. And this band is now defunct, and this is the last one that features the vocalist here. But so the album is The Wounded King's Shadow Over Atlantis. It was on I Hate Records. And I mean, it seems like a label. I can't find this if you're trying to stream this. I don't know what the issue is, if there's sort of band problems or label problems, but it is nowhere to be found in terms of a streaming platform. But it's a doom band out of the UK, and the song here is Sons of Belial. Now, there's probably all told really 4 tracks on this album. It's kind of very dark, occultish doom stuff. But in terms of getting a very slow, simplistic, dark atmosphere, more than anything that you would hear like in a drone record, this is far more traditional doom. But it's rare to replicate kind of the darkness that this album has on for like a doom release. And Sons of Belial is the heart-shattering moment on the entire record. They changed vocalist after Shadow of Atlantis, and I think they kind of went in a different direction overall. But Sons of Belial is the highlight for me here, and it kind of takes like back when I was actually really getting into doom overall as a genre. One of the things that Alan and I talked about when we had the sort of stream with Rick over with doom as a genre, broadly speaking, it was the first sort of more traditional heavy metal genre that I could really gravitate towards because of that aspect. Like there was something about it that felt sort of crushing and overwhelming, even though it was sung vocals. So an important record for me in terms of like an overall direction for a genre or interest within heavy metal. And this is the darkest moment on a record that really stands out for me.
Good deal. Yeah, I remember that album. It does have a pretty interesting and kind of unique sound to it.
I remember getting that promo. I couldn't tell you what it sounded like. It was 100 years ago. It feels like 100 years ago.
Yeah. I think I didn't get a promo of it, but I bought it on some digital platform, probably eMusic when it came out. It just was one of those like, that looks interesting, and it's on I Hate. Sure, we'll give that a try.
All right, Alan.
All right, so I've got things in sort of different categories here. I tried to pull a few things that I felt like have become or are on the cusp of becoming bigger long-term classics. So I'll start with one of those, and it is Children of the Next Level by Testament off of this album from, this is already like, what, 6 years old, Titans of Creation. That particular song was, I'm pretty sure it was the lead single from the album. It certainly got a ton of airplay. And we talked about, again, ton of airplay is a relative term these days. But there are still outlets where you can encounter it. One in particular that has played this song a lot is Liquid Metal. Liquid Metal, I guess, is the closest thing you have to something like your older metal show stations that's widely available to folks. And they played the crap out of Children of the Next Level while this album was getting ready to come out. It was one of those things I would hear every day, in the morning, commuting to work, and again in the afternoon. It was on their like Devil's Dozen countdown a ton of the time. And something I've noticed is that this song has stayed in rotation. Typically, once the promotion hype cycle is done, the album's been out a few weeks, the songs kind of rotate out of the playlists on something like Liquid Metal. And for, I guess, reasons of popularity, Children at the Next Level still pops up in their playlists. I'm not listening to Liquid Metal as much these days as I was when this came out. But it seems like every other time I do have the channel on, this is one of the songs that comes up. And it is a solid song. It's classic Testament. There's a good album overall. It doesn't redefine the genre or anything, but Testament's become one of those legacy bands that people will get excited about when they put out something new, want to check it out. And Children of the Next Level seems to be a song that has made it past that, just 6 months and, we forget that it even exists. Because, now we're like 6 years down the road. And the fact that it still comes up in rotation on a semi-regular basis seems to indicate that this song has stuck. And so that's why I picked it for my first example of something that is maybe becoming a modern classic. I'm not saying it's better than tracks from the legacy or anything like that, but that's not the topic for tonight's show. We're looking at more recent things that are managing to get to that level. Children of the Next Level has definitely leveled up. There you go. All right, Marty, what's your first one for this?
All right. Well, I kind of blew my cover loading the picture, but I don't own this. I used to own it, but I got rid of it because this is a band that really has one song for me. I have not heard every single one of their albums. They don't have a lot, but I'm talking about Bolzer off their EP Aura, the song Entranced by the Wolf Shook. This came out in 2013. This is one of those songs that's kind of an anomaly. It is completely innovative in the fact that it's very atypical riffing, very scattered and obtuse. It flows in a very scattered fashion, but it's so interesting. The band wrote this massive track that starts off with one of the most interesting guitar riffs I've heard in a long time. The song itself is very apocalyptic in the way it's set up. The singer plays a 10-string, he plays all the strings when he's picking, and then, he focuses on these tremolo note type thing. It's just very bizarre. And the way he's got like a hollering kind of yelling into the void type of vocal style, very over the top. It's just one of those songs that was so interesting, and it leads off their very first EP. And the songs that the other couple songs that are on this are not as good as that song, and subsequent releases I would start checking out. The songs just aren't as good as that one song. So it's one of those, hey, thanks Nagelfar Vitra. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks,
it's just one of those things that are very apocalyptic, triumphant, and it's a band that just could not rekindle that magic. Again, I have not heard... Let's see here. Well, they've only got one full-length album. They've got 2 EPs, a full-length album. They have 3 EPs and a split. So they're not a productive band. But, Entranced by the Wolf Shook. Have you guys heard this song?
Yeah. It's a pretty wild song, and it's a very interesting band, too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. I'm not familiar with it, but it is one I've heard a lot of people talk about, so it makes perfect sense as a good pick for tonight.
If that whole EP centered around that sort of innovation and how they combine the innovation with, you know, an urgency and apocalyptic, a very underground metal vibe, even though it's not black metal, it's just like very thunderous, and it isn't really death metal either. It's just like a weird conglomeration of styles. It's a very interesting song by an interesting band. It's probably I need to revisit. Hey, thanks, Miss A. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Miss A.
I need to revisit and see if there's anything in there, but that song has been the pinnacle for me. All right. That was number one. Kellen, what you got?
Okay, so moving 2011. This is probably the album and the song that helped me get attached to this band. So this is Evil Feast, Winterman Enchantment. Summoning the Splendor Once Fallen is the penultimate track here.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you. Sorry.
It's all good. Thanks everyone in the chat who's sending some love. What was interesting a few years ago, man, it might be more than a few years. I was watching Hold the Dark. It was streaming on Netflix. This movie, and it actually featured the Summoning the Splendor. Right, the fact that I heard an Evil Feast track in a movie was pretty wild.
Crazy. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think it's the same director who did The Green Room. I don't know if anyone has seen that. It's kind of a horror film that is a bit more sort of punk focused. But I definitely recommend The Green Room. Hold the Dark is kind of hit and miss. But anyway, Evil Feast as a band, you know, we kind of opened the show talking about how there's some sort of extreme metal bands are a little bit more like on the atmospheric side, or you kind of get lumped into the entirety of the record versus individual tracks. That could be said for a lot of Evil Feast in general. But I think Summoning the Splendor, if I'm like sending someone to this band, it's a long track. I want to say it's around 10 minutes long, and I'm always amazed how varied it is. Meaning like it kind of comes in different waves, different paces. The keyboard usage is always sort of the hallmark for me. But Summoning the Splendor Once Fallen, Winterman Enchantment from Evil Feast 2011.
Talk about a band that needs an album bad. I mean, hell, when was the last time they put something out?
It's been a while. 2017 was the last time they had a full length.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been a minute.
Lee, thanks for the super chat, man. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
All right, Alan.
All right. For the next one, I'll jump over to a song that's just a personal favorite.
Thanks, Billy. Everybody's dropping the bombs. Thank you, man. Appreciate
Billy,
you.
Yes, thank you too. It's very kind of y'all tonight. We do appreciate it quite a bit. Helps
y'all rule.
Keeps the lights on and the microphones are working.
Yeah.
For this next one, I also picked songs tonight that are personal favorites from the past 15, 16 years, and ones that I think could be like big hits, well-known songs. Maybe the bands are just a little too underground for that to have ever occurred, but I think the songs had potential and they certainly captivated me. And I'll start with what I think is my favorite song of this entire thing. We'll just go ahead and get the big one out of the way. And I wouldn't have thought of it if I hadn't sat down and compiled the list. And it's a great song, but it's one that I think I would have overlooked if I wasn't careful. It is Another Night from the first High Spirits album. This is one of, Professor Black, Chris Maycock's projects, probably the one he's best known for at this stage. And the title track, Another Night, is absolutely fabulous. This is a song that is instantly catchy. It has really high energy. Chris is great at writing hooks, no matter what his project is, whether it's Super Christ or High Spirits or pick any one of the other dozens of things he's worked on. He's always kind of goes back to first principles, things like Motorhead and Bad Religion, bands that knew how to instantly get their hooks into your brain. And the song for this one, everything about it just moves perfectly. The verses are great. They slide right into the chorus with really high energy. There's no break where you have to kind of set up the chorus to change or catch your breath before the next stanza. It just glides right into it. It glides right out of the chorus into the next section. It's the ultimate just kind of air guitar sing-along type of song. Not the heaviest project in his repertoire. It's okay. It doesn't have to be. But yeah, looking at all the songs that I put together a list for tonight, I put together a long list of songs as potential contenders. As I tried to whittle down, like, okay, what are maybe my 10 favorites or 5 favorites? This one floated to the top of the list. So I would have to say Another Night by High Spirits. It is the classic heavy metal song of the last 15 years on my personal list, at least. So that is my pick for round 2. That means it is your turn, Marty. See if I can get my glasses to stay up on my nose better.
Oh, you're muted.
I coughed and I muted myself. All right, thanks for catching that.
No problem.
Starting off here with a band that I very much was a fan of when they started. They kind of lost me the last few albums. Still good, but then this album came out, Fall by Borknagar.
Oh, yeah.
This record is a good record. It's a great record. But the thing, it's kind of the Entranced by the Wolf Shook thing. It starts off with the song Summits, which is the song I'm going with for this record. This thing starts off so amazing. This is pure. This is Borknagar at their most melodic, their most pagan folk inspired. There is this, towards the end of the song, there's like this beautiful, clean music break, very quiet. And then when it starts to kick in a little bit, ICS Vortex takes over the mic, and his vocal line is so playful and sad. It's weird to say, hey, Sunday, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate
Thank you, Sunday.
The way he's like very free in his swinging of the melody line, but it's very sad the way he sings it and mournful, and it brings tears to my eyes. It's just beautiful. The song is so amazingly paced. It starts off pretty furious, a lot of blasting, really nasty, ferocious black metal style singing, and then to end with his beautiful voice over a beautiful string of melody lines. Wow. Just an absolute. This is one of the first ones I picked for this because the song is still, I mean, I listened to it tonight probably 3 times before we started because like, damn it. It's one of those, I want the whole album to be at that tier, but it kind of isn't. They go into the Nordic anthem song afterwards, which is, they're trying to be anthemic with it. And a lot of people liked it, but to me, it seems like a step down. It seems like a cheap stab at an anthem, but
it's an easier song to digest for sure.
Easier song to digest, but man, Summits, it just grabs a hold of my emotions every time. It's just so well constructed, and everything that's so good about Borknagar, they maintain that Norwegian spirit, that Norwegian folk element that makes Norwegian black metal special. Is even though the band got very popular and probably leans a little bit more into a commercialized festival crowd than it would, a pure evil black metal aesthetic. Songs like that are special, man. And I don't care who you are or how you slice it. It's just a band reveling in what they are, and they're reveling in their own sound and really leaning into it and doing something special with it. So, yep, Summits for me. Great song.
Yeah, great pick. I completely overlooked that one.
All right, Kellen.
All right, so this is probably more on the personal favorites versus anthem to define culture broadly. You won't hear this on the radio or liquid metal anytime soon. But why this I thought was important, let me just get into the song, and then I'll kind of get into my rationale here. So this is Skull Smashing Concrete from New Zealand's Meth Drinker. Subtitle.
Anthemic. Here we go.
So I guess why I wanted to bring this one to the discussion tonight is, for me, they're a really important band in terms of reframing. Like in the 2000s, so much of what sludge became, I think, was really informed by what Neurosis was doing in the 90s. And that sort of post-metal had kind of taken off, and it was a big, I mean, just to be perfectly honest, it was a big thing. The ISIS and like that class of bands really defined the 2000s, love it or hate it. So to get to get like Meth Drinker coming around, this is their debut record from 2011. This is like completely trying to go back to the like Newthrush kind of sludge that I think is much more rooted in kind of hardcore and crust, and is on the total opposing end to anything associated with post-metal. For any other bands that are doing kind of sludge in this world nowadays, I think talking about Meth Drinker is really important as like a frame of reference to inform the sound. Skull Smashing Concrete like is just straightforward. No, it's like 3+ minutes, bare bones riff kind of stuff. So there's a whole lot of, you know, not big atmospheric things going on here. Just absolutely like ear shrieking feedback kind of sludge, which is my personal favorite within the genre. So I think in terms of steering the ship in a different direction, this band's really important, and that's the song that I'm going to go to.
Hey, Mark, thanks a bunch, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for the super chat.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Good to see you.
Folks are posting them faster than we can get them on the screen.
You all rule. Thank you for the support. You're very cool. Thank you so much. All right, Meth Drinker. Feel good hit of the 20.
A little bit different than the Mortar vibe going on. Yeah.
With the top down, cruising down to the beach, cranking little Meth Drinker, swinging through the 7-Eleven parking lot.
When I was putting together the list, I was like, Marty Allen, not pulling this one. I'm pretty certain there'll be a different one.
That is one of the safer bets you can make tonight. Yeah.
No Meth Drinker in this house, unfortunately. I guess I'm missing out on the hits, but we'll see.
Beer Drinker. Not the same thing.
Yep.
All right, let's pick another one from the stack of songs I feel like did become a relatively big thing, got pretty well known. I knew about this band before this song came out, and this is another one that got played a lot on Sirius XM radio stations, and it is the song that got me to check out this album. To Kellen's point at the start tonight, a lot of these albums do have, you know, that one song that draws you in, and that was very much the case with this one. It is the song "Bring Back the Plague" by Cattle Decapitation from the Death Atlas album.
Good album.
It is a good album. You know, and this band was around, of course, quite a while before this. I don't know if this is their 5th or 6th album or whatever. And they definitely had a following. Yeah, I knew people that were very into this band before Death Atlas dropped. But it did feel like this album sort of helped them elevate to another tier in terms of fan base and visibility. And Bring Back the Plague being part of the success of that. The song made a big impact. It probably also helped that this time the album cover art was more digestible. But there's a pun in there somewhere, and I'm not going to dig for it. Y'all can do that. But it's a really cool cover with the skeleton and the Atlas pose with the Reaper thing. Other Cattle Decapitation artwork is interesting, but there's a lot of people that are just not going to buy an album where a cow is pooping out something that looks like a human, but they'd have no problem picking up something like this. So I'm not saying they watered down the artwork to become mainstream or anything ridiculous like that. But this is a cover that probably does have a little wider appeal than some of the more extreme graphic stuff they did. Or maybe they just cater to slightly different audiences. I don't know. Regardless of the impact of the cover art, the songs on here are just really good. This isn't a band I have followed super long. Like I said, this was the first time I bought something by them. I'd heard songs here and there. It's like, okay, interesting. Not sure it's quite my thing. But on this one, the material is really good. The vocal performance is outstanding. And Bring Back the Plague was a great single to work with that. Got a lot of airplay in certain channels, relatively speaking. Seemed to make an impact at the time it came out. of course, Cattle Decapitation has released more stuff since then, and those albums have went over extremely well too. I just haven't kept up with them. So as Kellen mentioned, there's that fire hose effect where you just can't keep up with everything. I haven't kept up with Cattle Decap, but Bring Back the Plague is a song I will still dial up from time to time to play. It was catchy enough to get stuck in my brain, at least semi-long term. So that's my pick for this round. Bring Back the Plague from Cattle Decapitation.
I mean, there's also a perfect, in my mind, a moment, right? Like to have that record come out in the midst of COVID. I do feel a lot of like the press was sort of playing into that. There was this sort of like isolation, the band. I don't know. In my mind, I could be completely wrong about this, but I do think they had some fun with the fact that they were all sort of isolated from one another and, you know, sick, dealing with COVID. And here's this record that comes out. It's just a record that completely in my mind is associated with that time period in history.
Very much so. Yeah, I agree. It is. And yes, you have a single, Bring Back the Plague, when you have a global pandemic in full swing. That's a synchronicity that happened.
Yeah,
leave it at that.
And they leaned into it, right? Like they
might as well at that point. It's not like it was their fault or something.
Yeah,
to do it. All right, Marty, you're up, sir.
All right, let's go for a little nepotism here. This came out in 2014. This is off of the album Roads to the North by Panopticon. The closing track on here, Chase the Grain, is an absolute... How long is this thing? Did I write it down? No, it's like 11 minutes, 12-minute long song. He closes this album on an epic... This is where he really starts to experiment with the cinematic vibe. There's like timpani on here, the way the synths interact with the violins. There's an orchestral piece built in, but it's almost feels like a battery. It should have been like in a battery on a battery album somewhere, but mixing frantic blast beats with that level of orchestration and the way the song builds up and then is stripped back down and then builds up again is a very cinematic piece. And it's an element that Austin kind of perfected as he went on. And the latest album is a concept record, and it feels like it could be, you know, you're listening to a movie type of situation. But yeah, the song it's ripping. The blasting is furious. He's an amazing drummer, an amazing songwriter. A lot of shred solos on this one. So it isn't just stare at your shoes and maybe try to wipe the tears away. This is a very ferocious ending to a very, it's a kind of a transition album into a more dense sonic landscape, I think, for him as a songwriter. So yeah, Chase the Grain off of 2014's Roads to the North. I think it's Austin taking a step into a bigger songwriting world, and he does so with grace, and it's just, he's an absolute savant. He's an awesome guy. He's a dear friend, and he just is an amazing songwriter and instrumental. Everything he touches, he can play, whatever that means.
He play good.
He played a lot of things really good. So yeah. So cheers to Austin and that song. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. No, nice pick. I thought about picking No Hope from one. But didn't get into the pile tonight, but definitely could have.
Right on. Kellen.
All right.
This album came to Album Club, but I'm kind of obsessed with this band, and this time period in death metal's history, I think, was really interesting. Obviously now in 2026, my opinion and sort of enthusiasm is kind of soured a little bit on it, but there was that, like, at the 2009, 2008, 2010, there were some younger bands out of Sweden that were kind of starting something interesting. And Necrovation, this is their second full length. Darkly the Dead is the track here. So the first record, I think, is a little bit more traditional Swedish death. They were sliding in, I think, also with some of the darker death metal bands at the time. The Funebrarums and Dead Congregation on that first release. But This one, the playing gets a little bit more challenging. I guess my comparison here is Chasm. Darkly the Dead has some really interesting sort of sparse, clean guitar moments. Um, and the sort of musicianship is a little bit more elevated. The standout track here for me, in terms of kind of foreshadowing where I think a lot of the bands would go. If you look at like Morbus Cron, and there's going to be another band that shows up on my list later on, that kind of broke my heart in the middle of this time period. But Necrovation, it just had a couple of releases and kind of fell off afterwards. But Darkly the Dead is a standout track in terms of this era of younger death metal bands that were on the come up, and sort of the momentum that would build over the following sort of decade. This was kind of at the beginning of it, and there were some really interesting ideas and songwriting going on, and this is the standout track for me of that generation.
All right. Wasn't expecting the Necrovation card to be dropped tonight. That's cool.
You know, there's a few album club choices that'll show up here later.
Right on, right on.
All right, let's see. We'll go back to the personal favorites stack. This song could be huge given a big enough platform. The band's just on a smaller label, but it has all the earmarks of a classic heavy metal song that should be sung by huge crowds in big venues everywhere. It is the opening track on the debut album from Early Moods. This is a doom metal band out of California. They work in kind of a very traditional Witchfinder General Black Sabbath vein. They do it extremely well. It doesn't sound derivative or like a copycat or a wannabe, even though it sticks pretty close to the source material. They somehow make it sound very fresh, very original. The lead track is called Return to Salem's Gate, and they put everything they've got into that first track, and it absolutely is a home run of a song. Builds up really perfectly. Just even little things, like right before they go into the first verse, there's this very quick little drum fill that picks up the tempo from where it's just kind of building like a doom tempo, and all of a sudden the song is going much faster than you expect it to. So it starts to feel maybe like, one of the faster Candlemass songs where it can almost lean a little thrashy. It's not slow doom. It's not plodding along. It's like, this is doom that is going to make you bang your fucking head. The chorus is fantastic. The vocals are all spot on. The guitar work is great. The entire album is stellar front to back. But that opening track makes such a statement. It tells you within the first 30 seconds or so that this is going to be excellent doom, but that it's not going to stick in one low gear for the entire album, that they are not afraid to mash down on the pedal and speed along and give you that shot of aggression that some doom bands often seem reluctant to do. And sometimes they need to. It's a genre that I like a lot, but some bands, it becomes a little boring or tedious if they never pick up the pace. That one just little thing where they immediately pick up the pace as they head into the first verse and power out the verses as they head towards the chorus. Return to Salem's Gate. This is a song everybody should know and love. It just is. If this song came out in the 80s and the band got the exposure, this would be the track that everybody would be screaming for as the band takes the stage. Great band. They are on Writing Easy Records. And I've got nothing against that label, but let's be honest, it's a relatively small label. I'd love to see a bigger label pick this band up and help give them a push. These guys have gotten out and done a lot of pushing themselves. We've talked on other shows about how sometimes bands, hey, I made the record. Now they just sit back and wait for things to happen. This is a small band from California. They've been over on the East Coast touring up and down a couple of times before. So they are not afraid to hit the road. They're not afraid to play small venues. And by all accounts, they absolutely rock the places when they show up and play. So this is a band that I think deserves a bigger push. Their second album is almost as good as this one, equally good, Lateral Step. So they've put out more stuff. They've shown that they can maintain a pretty high caliber across 2 albums. Here, labels, this is your band. If you want to have a doom metal band and kind of promote them, check out Early Moods. And again, nothing against Riding Easy. I just don't think that's a label that's going to really help this band get to that next level. They've got the talent and the songwriting to get there, and it shows right away. First song, first album, and they nail it with a classic.
Have you thought about, Alan, who you'd like to see them open for? In my mind, I was, when you mentioned, I think you've talked about this a couple of times, how you kind of would like to see them elevate, you know.
I will proselytize for that band or advocate for them, or whatever term to help get them over the hump. Sure.
I would love to see them open for a band like Lucifer, which is like a very sort of 70s doom sort of rock thing. I think they're on Nuclear Blast. Like, yep. I think it would make sense in terms of the kind of doom and sort of they're playing. They've got a little bit of that like 70s vibe to them.
They do. Yep. No, that's a good call, Kellen. There's some similar bands that would also make sense. Like, is it Sanhedrin? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but they have the same kind of vibe as Lucifer and have been getting some exposure. I want to say they're on Metal Blade though, but same kind of idea.
Yeah.
Something like that would be a great exposure for them. Yeah, pair them with somebody that people are going to come to see Lucifer, but they're going to be blown away if they show up in time to catch this opening act.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is one of those albums where it's hard to pick a track because they're all great. And this album is quickly, well, it was first few times I listened to it, it went up the chain of favorites from this band. We're talking about Atonement by Immolation. This album is amazing. It's an amazing record. It might even be my favorite Immolation record, just for the fact that they carried their essence, their true unique selves, and they messed around a bit with the formulas a bit. The songs got a little bit more layered. There's some really interesting layers on here. Very complex. And there's songs like Lower that are just kind of, they slither. There's like they're slower. They're not always blasting all the time. And I had a hard time choosing between the Distorting Light, which is the lead off track, absolutely crushing song. But I think Fostering the Dirge, I can't read my own writing. Oh, yeah. Fostering the Divide. That's not an R, that's a V in my writing down here. There's like this drum hook. I mean, when was the last time was there a drum hook on an Immolation album? And they recall it numerous times throughout the song. Great album, great band, reinventing themselves a little bit. And I like the record that came after this one. I can't remember the name of it. It was their Pandemic album. It was just too long. Acts of God. It's a really good record. They have not put out a bad record, but it just did not have the twists and turns and there's a lot more dynamics and interesting shifts in the music on here. Yet they somehow build these complex songs, yet maintain a sense of memorability. So I don't know how they do it. They just have their own style, and it's so cemented in classic death metal. And, but they got their own unique characteristic, and you got to applaud them for that. And to so many albums deep in their career, try some different shit without really going too far away from what they are. More bands need to do that exploration. And I would like to hear Immolation do it again. Their new record, it's going to be on my year-end list. It's awesome. I think it's kind of getting back to this a little bit, even though maybe a little less complex. It's still really catchy, well-written, deeply Immolation. It's awesome.
Yeah. Immolation is at least trying to struggle against that Nuclear Blast standard contract that they are under.
100%.
They push back on it a little bit more so than many of their contemporaries.
Yep, agreed. All right, Kellen.
All right, so for me, going in chronological order, we're in 2013 here. This is actually the first record I heard from this band. But once again, we're heading back to Poland for this one. Culte de Ghouls, Henbane. The longer, I think, title for this is or Sonic Compendium of the Black Arts. But the track I want to highlight is Vintage Black Magic, the third track here. This band plays in a style that is art. It feels to me like a little bit Italian at times, in terms of black metal, Italian, Greek, more than anything Polish. And what I wanted to highlight with Vintage Black Magic, the vocal performance here, from Mark of the Devil is what he goes by, is to me, like, since listening to sort of Attila's work on Odor Ad Chaos, it's the last time I heard a vocalist sort of dominate a black metal listening experience with the same level of sort of like performative qualities. All the different like shrieks, howls, barks, hisses, just completely off the rails, he's willing to go through in the course of this track. They also seem like they're very well versed in terms of like the cinematic or like how horror cinema should be presented. They take their time on these tracks here, and they do not throw away any of these moments in terms of when you should be sort of engaged or terrified with a track. There's all sorts of like crazy organs and synths being used that are used to like elevate the atmospheric qualities here, that are not as predictable or just don't blow through a track without any sort of consideration. The fact that Mark of the Devil takes all those opportunities to sort of sing, enunciate, just go out of control in terms of vocal performance here, I cannot recommend it enough. I think it's he's right now in terms of a younger black metal vocalist, I think he's the probably most entertaining voice right now. But Henbane was the one that kind of like absolutely blew me away when I first heard it, and Vintage Black Magic is the highlight track here. So anyway, Culted Ghouls.
Yeah. I liked that album a lot when it came out. It was my introduction to the band.
I have one of their albums. I don't remember which one it is. It might be that. I don't know if it's that one or not. Don't they have kind of a similar look between the records, like similar artwork?
I think they're actually kind of different, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Like
there's another one that has like one of them is black and red instead of black and green, but the art is, so the layout's a little similar, but the art is different.
Okay. Yeah. I need to see which one I have and give it another spin. All right, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah. Colts feels like that's another band that's probably overdue for an album at this point. All right, let's go back to the stack of things that have made a big impact. This one's not very old at all. Just came out about a year ago. But I checked before the show, and the video for this one has gotten over 500,000 views on YouTube. I know compared to Mr. Beast numbers, that's not a big deal. But for what is a relatively underground heavy metal band, I think that's pretty bloody impressive. It is the lead single from Corner's comeback album. So the track is Renewal from Dissonance Theory. This was Corner's return, of course. It was talked about a lot last year when it came out, so we don't need to go over everything about this album.
I'm a little surprised this is on your list, to be honest.
Oh, this is not on my personal favorites list. Now,
okay.
to be clear, this album I'm kind of in between on. Some people thought this was an amazing album. Some people really didn't like this album. I'm in the middle, but
I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. I'm like, yeah, it's not bad, but
I think you're right, Alan. Like, it was a big talking point. Everyone at some point was engaged with.
Yes, exactly. This was a song that, whether you liked Corner a lot, or whether you never got into them, or whether you never really checked them out, there was so much discussion around their return. What were they going to sound like? Were they going to go back to Punishment for Decadence? Were they going to pick up where Grin left off? Were they going to move off into different territory completely? You've got one new member. How's the chemistry going to be? Can Tommy still shred the way he used to? Everybody wanted to know what Corner was going to do. And it resulted, if nothing else, in a ton of people checking out the video again, 11 months later, and you've got like 528,000 views.
It's great
for a thrash band that hadn't put something out in decades. That made an impact. So whether that song sticks around long term to become a modern classic, too early to say, to be fair. And no, I wouldn't put it on like, my personal list of favorites that are coming out. But I think, the song did make a big impact on the scene in the way that many songs never get an opportunity to. So I am glad it was well received, that the album overall was well received, and Corner seems to be back, even if not everybody's fully on board with what they did. I'm glad it didn't just turn into a disaster, or everybody just kind of shrugged and didn't pay it any attention at all. It was nice to see, Corner get some love for that comeback.
Which song did you pull on that one?
Renewal. It was
Renewal,
the first,
right.
as far as I remember, it was the first single released. So it was like people's first chance to hear what the new Corner was going to sound like.
All right. Well, let's go to 2011 with the Arch Matheos album, Sympathetic Resonance.
Somebody picked one of these in the chat at the start of the show.
I saw that. Yeah. This was another one I had a hard time picking, the song, but I'm going to have to go with the leadoff track, Neurotically Wired.
That's the one song I wouldn't pick.
Really? Why?
I have a very hard time getting past that first song. The rest of the album is brilliant, but that first song was a roadblock for me for years.
Why? Why do you think that is?
It's a very dense song that's 10 minutes long to lead off.
It's 11 minutes long, 11, 12.
Yeah. I mean, that's all. It's a me thing. It's a dense 11-minute song to lead off an album. I was just exhausted by the time I got to track 2. That's all. But
yeah, it was actually a tough nut to crack, but I think the song is very rewarding in the fact that there's a lot going on in it. And I think obviously the return of John Arch, he put out a 2-song single with Jim Matheos and Mike Portnoy on drums. Amazing. But then he dropped off the face of the earth again for a long time. But they returned. And the thing that I like, why do I like this better than Fate's Warning? Modern Fate's Warning, not the classic 3 albums.
Gee, can I have 3 guesses?
Awaken the Guardian is sitting right behind you, judging you for your word. Yes.
Well, let me think. It's probably something to do with. Sorry.
Yeah, John Arch obviously is the big saving grace here, but the fact that this is more metal. I mean, yeah, it's still very proggy. There's a lot of twists and turns and interesting little, very musically advanced music breaks and all good guitar work. Very prog, and time signatures. But the thing for me is, Fate's Warning, they're an amazing band. Just because they're not something I gravitate towards the later era, this just feels more metal. It's more rooted in metal. It's heavier. It's just heavier than later Fate's Warning. So, and the songs are really good. And hearing John Arch again, not sounding like he missed a step, and the fact that he's leaning back a little bit and letting the music do some of the talking. He's not plastering every single second of. That's still a thing, but it's not as substantial as it used to be on like Awaken the Guardian or, Spectre Within. But yeah, this is a song I had a hard time picking, so I just went with Neurotically Wired. I think it's a interesting track, a lot of twists and turns to it, a lot of different dynamic shifts, but at the base of it, it's still very heavy with an amazing singer. So, yep, I like this one better than the second one too. The second one's really good, but the songs are a little bit more, I can absorb them easier. I think the second album was just a little more complex.
Yeah.
All right. Kellen.
Okay. So, not prog on this choice here. This is
Meat Spreader. Coming
out. Not Meat Spreader. This is Diocletian's Cassandrian. So the album, this record, comes around in 2014, and I want to say it's a handful of years after War of All Against All, which had a lot of sort of doomy sort of aspects to it. It was I think a little bit more of a complicated and messier record, which for some people playing in this kind of, we want to call it more war metal, whatever. I think it can be a detraction. This record really shaves off the fat. This Paul Giardi artwork, you get the soldier, it just kind of, the entire record feels much more like they're in sort of fighting trim. So it shaves off a lot of weight. And the album opens with this sort of classic sort of war scene. But the track that stands out to me is Steel Jaws, which is just right in the middle of this. There's like a cadence to the riff around a chorus, and Marty's like, there's a discernible riff here. Yes, there's an actual discernible riff at the chorus, which feels martial. So it just completely ties into the entire, like the whole sort of war theme. But they play with that during a breakdown where there's a greater sort of tom build. It's a 5+ minute long song that has greater composition. But more importantly, I think it drives home like the entire identity of the record. So I think Cassandrian's like the album in this style for the decade, and it's my favorite track on this record. So Steel Jaws, Cassandrian, Diocletian.
All right. Ellen.
All right, just catching up with several folks over here in the chat. Folks are mentioning lots of really cool songs in the chat for this topic. Cool to see. I will go back to the kind of alternating between songs that did become popular and songs I just wish were more popular. I think this is a contender for the best European power metal song released in the last 15 years. And the band is not from Europe. They're from Florida. But they do an excellent impression of classic era Blind Guardian. It's their thing. They've drifted from that style a little bit at times, but their bread and butter is always core Blind Guardian sound. They've toured with Blind Guardian a couple of times. I've seen them with Blind Guardian before. The band is called Seven Kingdoms. The track is from their Decennium album, which is their 5th, I believe. And the track is called In the Walls. It is based on the H.P. Lovecraft story of the same name. It's kind of classic Lovecraft tale. It's not one of the Cthulhu cycle tales. It's just a guy in sort of an ancient castle or ruin, and there's these sounds of rats scurrying around behind the walls that slowly, or not so slowly, drive him insane, trying to figure out where they're coming from and having to explore all the caverns and stuff below the castle, and bad Lovecraftian shit goes down. We know how those stories end. They're not exactly Mr. Rogers episodes. But the way they do this song, it is just an absolute barn burner, full on. If you like classic Gamma Ray or Blind Guardian around like Tales from the Twilight World era, where they were still really playing full throttle, borderline speed metal, with those huge chorus hooks, nonstop double bass drumming. In the Walls is right beside any of those tracks. It's got a chorus that will stay stuck in your head for days. Sabrina's a really good vocalist for this style. The whole album is really good. The band's most recent album, it was interesting. They had some songs that strayed a little bit closer to like an 80s pop formula, which sounds like a bad idea, but it worked okay. It actually wasn't that bad. And they are currently working on a new album. This is another band that could use some label support. I believe the past 3 albums, including the one that they're currently working on, have essentially been fan funded, which is another sort of interesting take on younger bands doing things differently. They haven't gotten a recording budget from a label or a contract or anything like that. They've gone directly to fan bases and using things like Patreon and those types of platforms to put together money so that they can record. So even though they're a relatively smaller band doing a lot of the stuff themselves, the albums come out sounding fantastic. They are able to crowdsource enough money to put together albums with really good cover artwork. I love the fantasy kind of sci-fi artwork on Decennium. The production is always fierce and the band always sounds really, really good. But yeah, In the Walls is just bona fide classic European power metal by a band from Florida that absolutely nails the formula. So that is my pick. In the Walls, Seven Kingdoms. Go check them out.
All right. Well, this is a song we've talked about on the Album Club. It's an album we've talked about on the Album Club, and it is Monogarm, their second to the last album, Yingling Estens Ode. I don't know. Nailed it, I'm sure. The leadoff track on this album, Freyr's Blood. Oh my God. It is absolute epic Swedish Viking metal greatness. This band I kind of put in the same box as Enslaved. Very similar subject matter. But Monogarm's way less proggy. They're more folky. But they have you can see them both having like a long ship race out in an adjoining fjord. Maybe that could be a thing. But yeah, this is just a band. I think it's weird. I started off listening to their stuff early on, and then I just completely kind of wrote them off. And now I'm back and revisiting all of their albums. I have them all, and really, really liking what they've done. I like their acoustic side. I like their black metal-y, metal festival European sound. But this song is really special. You can lump it in with the ferocious Borknagar. You could it fits in that whole scene very comfortably. But the song is just perfectly sculpted, perfect dynamics. The songwriting is so catchy. Eric's voice is from the retching, black metal shrieks to, the pitch singing. Excellent song. Again, I think that song is probably the best song on the album, but the whole album holds up pretty well, having to follow up such an absolute banger. There's a video or a lyric video for it on YouTube. Check it out. Freyr's Blood. Just so you can see what the spelling is. Top one there. Check it out. Absolutely great song. Definitely to be at the top of the whole Viking metal thing in my book anyway. Kellen.
All right, so here's one, and this band is actually divided Alan and I in terms of its interpretations back a few years ago.
I think we picked different songs for this tonight.
Yes, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, this is the first song that I heard, and this debut record made a pretty substantial impact. So, Out of the Garden, Krypsturmen, Holy of Holies is the track here. It kind of begins with these sort of laid back sort of synths, and then acoustic guitar comes in. But the dramatic build, I think, was something that initially stood out to me. And back in 2015, like the number of bands who were doing kind of epic doom, it's already a pretty limited genre. But I think one of the reasons I wanted to pick this is just like the ceiling for this band. I feel every subsequent release, they've become bigger and bigger. And kind of change their sound a little bit. I don't know, where they go down the road. But back in 2015, you had a band on Dark Descent. It was an epic doom band. And this very much was like a, whoa, where'd this come from kind of record. And now, like their last release, which I think featured a lot more sort of traditional heavy metal elements to it. I kind of see like at every turn they get more exposure, more visibility, and I don't know where it goes down the road. But for me, like Holy of Holies is the track that sort of put them on the map. I still will return to it, and it's sort of now a decade plus old, and see sort of where this band really took off. So, Holy of Holies, Krypsturmen.
What's your song on that one, Alan?
I actually picked a song from the next album with track number 2, Key of Solomon. Like I liked the first album, Out of the Garden, when it came out. It was one of those like, okay, it's not album of the year material, but I want to keep an eye on that band. And then when I checked out this one, Key to Solomon, track 2 is like these. So I'm just like, oh crap, these guys, yeah, okay, they've got it down now. There's no doubt. And yes, they've kind of moved on from strength to strength. Even last year's EP is really, really good from Krypsturmen. Some people didn't like the EP. It is just an EP, but I thought for EPs can be kind of disposable if you're not careful. That one I thought had some really good material on it. Let's see. I think I'm picking from the Became a Big stack. Yeah, Became a Big Thing. This band was already about as big as they get in heavy metal circles. But this was another song that made a pretty big splash and had people excited about the band, had more people excited about the band for the first time in many years. They've had their ups and downs, they have their fans and their detractors. But when Megadeth came out with The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, the closing track in particular, We'll Be Back. So last track on the album this time. That was a song that really got a lot of people excited. This was already quite a good Megadeth album, but they ended it on this barn burner of a track that sort of single entendre prophesies, hey, I am not done with stuff. It's Dave saying flat out, this is not my last album. Please don't ask those stupid questions. Are you done yet? Is it time to retire? It's a promise that more stuff was to come. Turns out he was almost done. There's only one album after this one, but it is a blistering track to end the album. So it's got airplay. It had a video play. It made the rounds, and even if people maybe were slightly lukewarm on the album, it's always a good idea. Go out all guns blazing, so that as soon as the album stops, people are like, whoa, wow, okay, their last impression is a really good impression. It may be a few songs back, they were like, this is kind of mid. And then like, oh, well, they really nailed it. And that's the impression they take away. We'll Be Back does a great job of that on The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. One of the best songs on the album. And it seemed kind of just perfect for Megadeth coming back and making a declarative statement of, we will also be back. I liked the way that played out a lot. It's held up pretty well for a few years now. I think it's much stronger than the final album. That one's not a terrible album whatsoever, but it's not as strong as The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. So I'll go with We'll Be Back. And we will be back, but not until Marty and Kellen have a turn.
All right. I didn't write the date of this one down, but it's within our parameters, and that would be Necros Christos, Triumph Impurity Rights. This is one of those records that is just, again, special. We just had an album that had a lot of intros and outros on it. We kind of went on a big tangent about that. This is certainly one of those records that it does kind of impact the overall flow of the record, I think, in a lot of ways. Although it is very ritualistic, it's doing something very similar that the Asheron was, as far as painting an additional atmosphere or a mood, a sonic mood. And but for me on here, there's a lot of bangers, but Christ was not of goat-born blood. What an absolute banger of a song. The chorus, so triumphant, and just the way it's presented. His voice is that evil, dark croak, and the song is so catchy. It's one of those clench your fist and shake it at the heavens as that chorus hits, which is basically just the, has the name of the song in it, but very good. A lot of single string riffs. There isn't a lot of, it's just a very simplistic knuckle dragging record, but the way they construct it, the songs are very hard hitting and very heavy. They do break it up with some very cool power chord based, chord progressions, but that dark croak, the vocals are just so sick and evil, and love it. And this was I did like the stuff they put out after this, but this was kind of the pinnacle for me as far as super catchy songs. Necromantic Nun on the album after this is really good too. That's another. It's in the same vein as Christ is not of goat-born blood, just blasphemous and awesome. But yeah, this is a special album by Necros Christos. Definitely check it out. They Are No More, and the band is the singer and bass player of the band is now in a band called Sigyn, which their first album is kind of death metal-ish. The second album is American thrash metal with that dark evil croak vocals. Very great band. Enjoy both of their albums. So check them out as well.
Yeah. I mean, Necros Christos is also a band that I always associate with an album listening.
Yeah.
Right. Like those records definitely sort of steer you towards a collective experience.
Yep.
So the fact that you're able to sort of isolate, hey, this song was the one that sort of grabbed me, kind of goes back to our earlier point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of those later records are like 2 hours long,
Yeah.
I want to say, right? It's a
Well, there's that one. It's like a 3 CD set.
yeah.
It's still cool.
Oh yeah, that's their third and last full length album.
Yep.
Okay. So this actually goes back another reference to this week's album club, because Marty pulled the debut record from the band, which was like a shot of adrenaline when I first heard it back in 2009. And they had a follow-up release. The second album came out in 2013, I believe, and I thought it was awesome. But man, this is an album that came out, and I heard their lead single, and this is kind of my disappointment pick for tonight's stream, because I think it really broke the band in terms of the direction they would head, and I think they're probably much more popular as a consequence now. But man, Strange Gateways Beckon from Tribulation. This 2015 comes out, and it marks like a significant change in direction for this band, moving towards this sort of occultish death metal rock thing. And the Marty had pulled the Horror from 2009, and I first heard that, and I just absolutely fell in love with the band.
Great band. That's a great album.
The record is just such a ripper. And so when I first heard Strange Gateways Beckon, it was like, what happened, right? Like, you have that experience with a band that you potentially establish a connection with, and they make a change, and they go in a specific direction that, at some point you throw it out of your car, or you break it, and wish you never had purchased it, kind of deal. This was like a kind of a disappointment for me. Now they have since gone on, and I think have had a whole lot more success and popularity, being much more accessible. But man, that is a record, or a song, I should say, that really challenged me, and I kind of had to let go as to where this band was headed in the years to come. People really love some of their later records, but it's just not what I wanted from this band. Yeah. Anyway, so Strange Gateways Beckon is the track here.
All right. Alan.
All right, well, back over to my favorite songs list. Let's pull something from that stack. Okay, I've talked about this song before from time to time. It is a band from Belarus called Pavesh N. It's very much an underground, lo-fi, raw black metal thing, in case you couldn't figure that out from the cover art. Yeah, they very much work in that vein. It's a one-man project. This was his third album under the Pavesh N banner. It's called Maniac Manifest. This was one I got exposed to very randomly. I was just digging around, browsing at a local record store. The guys that work there are both into heavy metal quite a bit. And they were playing music, of course. It's a record store. You've got to have something playing in the background. And I was like, damn, I don't know what's playing right now, but it's actually really cool. So after a few minutes, I went up front and asked one of the guys, I'm like, what you playing? And he's like, Pavesh N. I'm just like, come again? Pavesh N. I'm like, one more time. He tried again. He's like, if you've got a copy of it, can you just point me towards it? Because I have no idea what's going on. He's like, yeah, it's, I guess, some kind of Belarusian phrase. So they had a copy of it in the store. I ended up walking out with it based on what I'd been hearing for the past 10, 15 minutes. Pretty good album overall. The killer song on it, though, is the last song. Like with Megadeth, we're going to the closer. Last track is called Sister of Sin. It's probably not going to show up here, and it's kind of a weird font. But this track stands out because it is the band trying something a little bit different. He's very good at the lo-fi, occultish, black metal stuff, and has gotten better with each album, in my opinion. I think I've heard all their albums at this point, but this was my first experience with them. But Sister of Sin actually incorporates like this really strong, dark, for lack of a better descriptor, I'm going to say gothic influence to it. It's not just tremolo picking and screeching vocals or anything. It actually has like a huge percussive presence, but it's slow. It's not just hammering away blasting or anything. It's not trying to be cold or icy. It's got a real deep booming presence. The song is very carefully paced, so it develops this like really rich, dark sound, even though it's like 4-track production or something. Sounds like 4-track production, even if it's not really. And it's just a really captivating song. It stands out compared to the other stuff. It was a little bit of a sign of what would come. The follow-up album to this one is called Martyrs. And on that one, he definitely starts, again, incorporating some different sounds into the style and doing so very, very well. Martyrs is a concept album. I'm not sure I understand the concept. It's based on a very obscure play, I think, but I'll leave it there. But Sister of Sin, that one song, is a rare instance. Usually, again, with this kind of music, as Marty pointed out at the beginning tonight, you tend to think of it more in terms of ambiance. You're not playing it just to hear individual tracks. You're playing it for the mood setting, for the atmosphere. But Sister of Sin is a track I can just back up, play it again, back up, play it again, pull this out to play that particular song. So it has really stood out a lot and still gets played. This came out in 2021. 5 years later, I still will latch onto that song and give it a spin from time to time. So yeah, cool project. They are on Iron Bonehead. So that alone probably gives you some idea of what they're working for. There's one of those like underground black metal circle things with a lot of Belarusian artists. Paveshin is, or at least was, part of one of those. But yeah, Maniac Manifest is the one to start with, I think, if you're new to them. The previous two albums are good, but maybe a little more formulaic. This is the album where he really started to spread his wings a little bit, and that final track really exemplifies what he's capable of.
I need to check them out. I love the raw stuff, and I just have not ever really come across their shit anywhere.
There's so much of that kind of stuff out there. It's going to be very hard to zero in on any particular thing, so it's perfectly understandable.
All right. Well, let's go to, what year was this? 2023. A lot of talk about this when it came out for a good reason. This is the latest Varathron, the Crimson Temple.
Oh, great pick.
It's really good to hear a band from the Greek scene, one of the godfathers of it. Still, granted, it's just Necro Abyssos and a bunch of other new dudes, younger guys, but they understood the homework. And the song I went with here is Chimerian Priesthood, or Cimmerian Priesthood. Epic as hell. Triumphant as hell. There's a musical breakdown on here that is just so utterly, well, it's like a modern day Greek black metal. It just exudes that there's just a sound to it. Once you hear it, you'll know it. Varathron had it. Rotting Christ had it. Varathron has kind of maintained it, nurtured it a bit better over the years, I think, than Rotting Christ has. Rotting Christ has gone more cinematic and more, cinematic. They've just become way more trying to paint pictures with their music, where Varathron is maintaining the true spirit. But the melody lines, the guys that they got on here writing the music, is just, the instrumentation is really good, excellent layers. And when they break away from it for that singular melodic Greek black metal melody line that has a kind of a gallop or a march to it, it's just perfect. And this Chimerian Priesthood track really nails it. And the whole album is really good. And all their records leading up to this have been really, really good. Their comeback album, Stygian Forces of Scorn, excellent. If you're going to start somewhere, I would say start with that one and move forward. Excellent. The band has just been good. Whoever he gets to help carry the torch for Varathron, the Varathron brand, he's nailing it. The guys know what's up, and they're writing still killer records. So excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, Marty, because Varathron can very much do that sort of bigger anthemic stuff as well. They just do it differently than Rotting Christ. Rotting Christ is like the big percussive stuff that sounds like it should be played in a gladiator arena. But what's the lead track on Crimson Temple? Hegemony of something.
Yeah, there's a intro and then Hegemony of Chaos.
Yeah, that intro leading into Hegemony. I mean, that's got such a Greek Hellenic kind of feel to it that sets the table perfectly for that. It's a cool world building, but it's not building this kind of big uh, anthem pounding sound that Running Christ is gravitated towards. They're doing it with like a lot of more traditional instrumentation and stuff. So they achieve a similar effect, but with just going in a very different direction.
Yeah, like the other thing I would add to that is some of the other bands that I like from Greece that do really sort of anthemic, larger songs are the younger bands. So like we've had Coir, I've talked about Macabre Omen in the past, but those bands like they move at a much slower pace. And Verathron's got that like much more traditional classic Greek, but that album, Marty, also have to your point, the instrumentation is incredibly diverse on it.
Very good. Yeah.
It just they roped in a lot of interesting sort of wrinkles to that album.
And the way they bring it back to the core Greek sound, it's so interesting. And when it hits, you're like, yes, there it is. It keeps you on your toes, and it makes the album exciting to listen to. I think that's why so many people connected with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kellen, I'll be right back.
Okay. So for me, this is sort of a cultural impact and definitely a lead single album. So this is Migwa's Exercise in Futility, the opening track here. Like that I first heard, it sounds like it's a bone scrape going on. I don't know what that first porous noise is that opens this album. And I think a lot of fans of Migwa would look at With Hearts Towards None as like their favorite album. They sort of lean towards that as being a better track overall. But I think the opening song on this really broke the band and sort of elevated them in terms of visibility. So the other part of this is the sound that Migwa has going on in terms of like a modern black metal sort of textual component to guitar work. I think, bands out of France were doing this kind of almost industrial or like deeply dissonant kind of stuff. Then Migwa comes around and it's a very sort of modern approach to melodic guitar work. There's obviously it's just really a two-piece and they have some additional live members. But they're completely a riff-based band. It's not like you're kind of getting lost in very complicated instrumentation. Anyway, I think it was a really important song in terms of elevating their sort of general knowledge within the metal community. I think it kind of blew up on platforms like social media. For me, I first heard this band on YouTube before I did anywhere else. And I think probably deserves as like a important moment that would shape black metal in the years to come in terms of a sound that younger bands would be chasing after.
Yeah, that one, you're exactly right. All of a sudden, lots of bands were trying to emulate what they did. And I would agree. I think that is the one that really, as you say, kind of got them a much wider platform, more eyes on them, however we want to phrase that. But yeah, and I am one I probably would pick With Hearts Towards None as a little better than that one. But I think that is, the album that, if they weren't already on the map, it put them on a bigger map. We'll put it that way. Let's see. While Marty's gone, let's see if I can hit the correct button to. That's probably. It's funny because when I push the buttons, then things kind of rearrange slightly. But we'll get this worked out here, and go this way. So let's see. Next pick for me. I don't own this album, so I have nothing to hold up. But the song. This will be from the list of things that became relatively big, got the band a ton of exposure. It's from their second album. The band is Black Braid, and the song is The Spirit Returns. Black Braid made a pretty good splash with the debut album, Black Braid 1. It became a very popular underground release, kind of the quintessential do-it-yourself. John and his wife were handling everything. It got some coverage on Banger TV. It even got a little airplay, I believe, on things like Liquid Metal. So people definitely kind of caught on to Black Braid with the first album. And to his credit, John capitalized on that by rapidly getting the second album put together. Sometimes bands miss out on opportunities because it takes them too long. His turnaround time was pretty quick. I don't know if it was the next year, maybe it was like 16 months or something in between the two. But Blackberry 2 came out while the iron was still hot, and The Spirit Remains, there was a video single for it. Everybody has seen that video with them, playing kind of out in the desert in this kind of like small canyon type setting. It's a good song. It showed that they were retaining their sound, but he was tightening it up. The debut was proof of concept. The second album's like, okay, now I can do it even better. I've learned a few things and have it down even more pat. And this is another one of those songs similar to Children of the Next Level that has stayed on playlists. It still will pop up randomly in my YouTube feed years later. It will still randomly pop up when folks are playing different things on liquid metal shows. So it is one of those songs that connected with a lot of people. The second album did huge business. They were getting on bigger tours and all of that. I checked before the show again. Spirit Returns, even not just like having it as the lead single, the title of the song alone, the fact that it's an atmospheric black metal project, it all kind of made sense. The song, like, literally, yes, the spirit of Blackbird has returned, and here's your new video, and here's your new album, and you can continue going nuts over it. That video has gotten like 777,000 views, which again, for a project that's one man doing it, basically, him and his wife running the show, that I think is quite the accomplishment. But it's also allowed him to springboard to even bigger things. The lead video for Black Braid 3, and I forget the name of the song, it's Immortal something. Anyway, it's not the song I picked. That one's doubled that count. That video has over 1.5 million views, which again, I know in relative terms, there's some kind of makeup and beauty tip influencer who will get that much within the first 45 seconds of posting a video. That's nice. That's not our world. But for our world, getting 1.5 million views for an atmospheric black metal one-man project who's doing it, with on their own, I think that's pretty damn impressive. So that song, Spirit Returns, set the table, and Blackberry continues to move from strength to strength. Good for him.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as I'm sitting here going through looking at dates, I realized I had about 4 things that were not in our date parameters. I'm like, God damn it. So I've been scrambling to grab some other things. Out of bounds. So this was in the original list, so I'm not cheating here. But yeah, this album, not really well loved. This is Slough Fag with the Digital Resistance.
That seems to be the one album everybody is down on. Yeah.
I like it. You know what? I think that was my initial impression of this record. Oh, it's okay. It's not as good as their other stuff, but it's still Slough Fag. And the more I listened to it, the songs began to reveal themselves a bit more. And Habeas Corpus on here. Well, this came out in 2014, by the way. Habeas Corpus, for me, is a great song. It's quirky. It's basically, there's like a real tribal tom fill that kind of goes throughout the whole track. And there's acoustic and electric guitars. Kind of minimal. It's kind of jangly. Mike's kind of in narration mode, like he's telling the tale of a hitman. And the song is super catchy. And there's like this really busy bass line that goes throughout. It's more complex than the music. It's uplifting, but it's very complimenting. This is such a musician's band. They really are. The solo work is fantastic always. The riff, I mean, we just covered Traveler here, I don't know, a couple weeks ago on the Album Club, and for an album to be so utterly perfect from start to finish, every riff, there's not a throwaway riff on the record. There just isn't. And a lot of their albums are like this. I mean, they're not all perfect. There's some ups and downs, but the thing of it is, there's like, Mike's voice is so quirky, and the way they put songs together is so atypical from, the heavy metal crowd. Hey, Easy Pleaser, thanks a bunch. We'll have to remind him that strength to strength. Yeah, but Habeas Corpus on this, I think, is a standout track. It is not like the rest of the record, but it is very good. And this is an album I wish people would kind of go back and revisit because it really is a solid record. It's slough vague. It's not going to be bad. It just may not be as immediate or bombastic as, albums like Traveler or Down Among the Dead Men or Atavism, another great from start to finish slough vague album. But absolutely love this band, and this is an absolute banger.
I've never heard that record, so
check it out. It's fun.
Yeah. Okay. Why are people down on it? What's the?
Like I said, it isn't as immediate. I mean, Traveler is just an absolute heavy metal assault. This here, the song's a little more subdued. Maybe a little more tired than some of their other albums. Maybe there's such a good run leading up to it that it just isn't maybe top notch them, but still, it's still good. It's still fun to listen to.
Yeah, well, I dig that band. So I never have come across that one. So
yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
It came out on this was their debut on Metal Blade, so it shouldn't be hard to find. I wouldn't think.
Okay.
All right, Kellen.
All right. Well, I'll jump back in here. Another album club pick here. This is the closer from Scythian, Hubris and Excelsis.
Another album club banger.
Yeah. The song's entitled Dystopia. There's a lead in which is sort of this World War I poem that sort of builds an instrumental, and then we actually get into the song Dystopia. But this band does a great job of incorporating sort of a death thrash, sort of Apsu thing with sort of Viking era battery. That's kind of the story, what's going on with Scythian. The build up though, like there's this really cool sort of acoustic passage that sits in the middle of this. Great lyrical content. It's about an 8-minute song. To get a thrash song that can give you this kind of scale, or tell, like, I kind of have this narrative building to it, is I think more complicated, and that Viking sort of sound really helps to sort of pull it along, incorporate different sort of aspects that you would wouldn't get from a traditional thrash song. And they don't kind of do the the other band that I associate this with is Germany's Disaster, but this is a little bit more kind of on the epic side of things, first and foremost. Anyway, a killer way to close this. They just got 2 records and then they folded. The principal, I think, songwriter is now playing in Craven Idol, which is a different kind of death thrash band. But this Dystopia off of Scythian's second record, Hubris and Excelsis, that is my pick here on that record.
All right. Alan. You're muted, sir.
Sorry, I had to step away quickly there. Cats decided if I wasn't going to feed them, they were going to start their own version of WrestleMania right outside my door. So
there could be only one.
Cats must have cheeseburger by this point. Let's see. All right, let's go with this one. I'm seeing some good suggestions in the chat, but I'll go with this one next. This was a lead single for the band Clean Break a few years ago on their first album. If folks are scratching their head wondering what the heck that is, this one, the label alone, it's a Frontiers release. So it's like, oh, okay, it's a Frontiers kind of band. So leans a little more into the hard rock side of things and flat out metal. But the lineup is interesting. The rhythm section is borrowed from Stryper. Guitarist is Mike Flintz from Riot fame, and vocalist is James Durbin, who was on one of those music reality shows and was like the metal guy who did fairly well that season. I think he ended up performing with maybe Judas Priest on a stage or something like that. I don't follow reality shows, so I can't say. But yeah, Durbin has sung with like Quiet Riot and a few other projects, and he ended up hooking up with these guys for a band called Clean Break. They've made 2 albums to date. The lead single is the first track on the album called Coming Home, And it really does work great as a single. They made a music video for it. If this were still like 1989 to 91, early 91, before grunge started taking everyone's attention, the video for Coming Home would have done incredibly well as like an MTV daily play kind of thing. It wouldn't have been like a top 10 hit single, but the video would have worked. Flint's is a badass guitar player. He never gets enough credit. He learned from Mark Reale, one of the best to ever pick up the instrument. Durbin sounds great on here. The song is really dynamic, very lively. It's a straightforward concept for the video, but it's done well. The guys from Stryper sound great on here too, and Durbin sings. Again, I'm not really familiar with all of his work, but he sounds really good for this style. This might be singer. He is, and this might be again for fans of bands more like something, say, Master Plan, bands that are going again for that hard rock side of metal, not just the flat out metal stuff. Coming Home, fantastic song. I will still pull this out or dial up the video from time to time just to sing along to the chorus. It would have been a noteworthy song in another era. It's just in the wrong wrong point in the timeline to have gotten a ton of attention. I think overall the debut album is quite good. They changed directions a little bit on the second album. It's not completely different, but some things just felt different enough that it left me scratching my head a tad. Like, still not sure how I feel about album number 2, but the first one, good pickup if you like that style of thing, or if you just want to hear Mike Flint's be the badass guitar hero that Mike Flint's is.
I would just say that album artwork's not doing any favors.
No, it doesn't leap off the shelf.
It is not. No, I mean, it's not much of a logo, and it's just like a big saw blade. And again, it's not like it's a real heavy band or anything. So like, what's with the big circular saw blade? You're not trying to be Razor or something. So yeah, no, I agree completely. Frontier's art department kind of missed the mark on that one. It happens.
All right. Well, Metal Kev mentioned them, and how could I have not remembered to pick this record? But we're going with By Fire and Sword with Glory. Holy crap. This is an album full of absolute earworm, great songs. And I'm going with the track Feast on here. This is a band, watch the Album Club episode on this. It is absolutely infectious and unique. I can't remember what the comparisons were, but the guy's voice, they're kind of modeling it after a cult, the cult experience, and it's like evangelized cult worship type of thing from the viewpoint of the pastor. It's so good. The songs are so catchy. It's the same guy that does Wield and Woe. It's kind of castle metal type stuff. He also does all the music for this here, but the singer is really good. He has if Karen Carpenter in the male form, there's like a 70s vibe to some of this stuff. I don't know. It's so absolutely killer. Heavy, catchy. It's like pop metal in a certain way, but darker, with very dark sort of lyrical theme. I don't know. If you need to check this out, it's weird and quirky, and it's one of those things I listen to and I shouldn't like, but man, I could not get past how well written and hooky it is. So definitely earworm after earworm. Were you around for that one, Kellen?
Yep. I think, I don't know if you pulled it or TJ pulled it.
I turned TJ. Wait, I can't remember which way. I turned TJ onto it. And he was like, "This is dumb." And then like a week later, he's like, "I can't stop listening to it." Yeah. What did you think about it? I don't remember.
I heard the EP.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which
I had
also
pulled
good.
this, but when I saw you were going to go get the album, Marty, I skipped this one to.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think I got more stuff pulled than you did, so it's fine.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
was that one of the songs that you picked? Did you pull something off that, Alan?
Yeah, I was picking the lead song off this, Testify. That one's just, monster sound on this one.
Yeah.
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 But go ahead, Kellen.
I was going to say, so I did not like the full length as much. I think they definitely lean into the like 70s sort of choral aspect to that, which I totally get. I think you've tried to reiterate during the course of that conversation. If you grew up in the 70s, like you hear those melodies, and I do think it's a super interesting concept, though. As a band, it's entertaining as hell, and I enjoyed the EP a little bit more than the full length. So, nonetheless, super interesting band. I always end up sort of laughing. I do remember a few times in the course of driving around and sort of studying that record in my car, I kept on shaking my head like, I can't believe I'm listening to this right now. Kind of, which is always what makes album club fun, right? So,
I remember getting the EP and listening to it and thinking, oh, this is just a bunch of big dumb Christians doing this stuff, whatever, Christian band. But then you start looking into it like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Something's up here. No, they're kind of mocking it in a way. It's interesting. Good album. Sorry. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'm setting this aside. This is getting listened to tonight.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to take my time on the pronunciation for this. So this band, I think, is one of the best things in heavy metal right now. But in their first record was kind of this thrashy, merciful fate worship kind of stuff. But since then, they have kind of taken a turn, and with each subsequent record, they've become a little bit more adventurous and are taking different chances. Their second full length, though, man, it was like the turning point for me. So this is Malacarpatan, and this is their second full length from 2017. Now, I did not study the pronunciation for this one, so I'm looking at the second track here, though, which is something like there's the mysterious frog of the lake. It has to do with Slovakian folklore, so forgive me for not knowing that off the top of my head. But yeah, the cool thing about this band is they get a little bit more refined in terms of the more traditional heavy metal riffing aspects on this second record. And the guitar work here is just unbelievable. It's super catchy. And, with all the kind of aggressive black, metal vocals that are happening on the top of this, more like, I say that sort of casually in terms of like Eastern European or Central European kind of black metal, as opposed to like the Norwegian stuff per se. But the guitar work here is absolutely worthy of consideration and praise for its like knowledge of Merciful Fate and Judas Priest kind of stuff. That integration, I think, serves as the backbone to the majority of their work. And if they didn't have that, I think their subsequent records for all their sort of adventurous attempts wouldn't be nearly as captivating. This is sort of the groundwork. And this opening track we get here, man, awesome. So I apologize for the lack of pronunciation or skill there, but this is their second full length from 2017, and it's the second track on this album that I think just unbelievable guitar work here.
I need to circle back to that band and give them more time. Everyone raves about them, and I've heard songs and stuff, but I've never really sat down and focused on the local store. Even has two of them used sitting there, and just like, you can come home with me. And I'm always like, yeah, I could probably find something else instead.
I do think that second record is the turning point, though. Like the first one, you listen to it and you're like, okay, like I get what they got going on here. But the second one, I think they kind of take everything to a new level. So that's when I would send you towards.
Okay. We'll keep that in mind. All right, let's see. Well, somebody stole my by fire by sword picks. Now I got to come up with something else.
I'm sorry. I'm scrapping here. I think I'm covered. I think I'm covered for the night.
No, it's good. It's good. I will go with this one. You turned me on to this one, Marty. I avoided it. I was afraid the cheese was a little too stinky, but
embrace the cheese, Alan.
It turns out this was exactly my kind of cheese for sure. It is the Owl Bear album, Shadow and Claw. And the song I'm picking from this one is kind of buried in the middle of the album, Wild Shape. Overall, this album has lots of very fun, easy to headbang to tunes. Wild Shape stands out. It's got this huge monster hook just right off the bat, and they revisit it every time for the chorus. Just this big da na 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 da na 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 na. Very very fun song. I forget the vocalist's name. It's like Scary something. She is her stage name. She really delivers on this one. The album sounds fantastic. It's got a very loud sound. It is one of those that feels a little brick walled. It's going to be up in your face for the whole length of the album, but just the cadence of Wild Shape makes it stand out a little bit compared to some of the other songs. It is good. The songs can get a little interchangeable. That's a fair criticism of it, but Wild Shape doesn't feel that way to me. It's like this, for especially late in the running order, here's a moment where you can really reorient yourself. It's like, okay, I know exactly where I'm at in the playlist now, because that song sounds a little bit better than all of the others. Great sing-along stuff. I imagine they've got to be a very fun band to watch play live.
It'd be fun to see.
If they can deliver the same kind of energy on stage that they deliver on this album, then they are a must-see live. Although I think, and I could be wrong about this, I think some of the members who record in the studio do not tour with them. Because I remember them having like members who are strictly there for the live setting, which would be interesting to see how that works out too, if they can capture the same sort of tones and such.
Yeah, that the way that album is structured and the way the band is, it should translate well live. I can only imagine it's great. Yeah,
it's definitely made for that. I hope it does play out well. But yeah, Owlbear's Feather and Claw. Yes, everything about this screams run away and go give a wedgie to the nerd who can't stop talking about how many D20s he has to roll for his charisma total or whatever. But it really is a banger. It does not wallow in the D&D isms the way some bands do. Some bands do make too much of that stuff to the point where the music almost feels like an afterthought. Here's the other way around. And again, I feel Scary Katie. There we go. She's been in other projects before. This is not her first rodeo, and it shows because it just, she's worked out a good persona. She's got the confidence in her delivery. So, and the D&D stuff, it's just a little bit of trappings to give the songs a little extra personality, but it's not like a D&D themed album start to back that's going to kind of wear you out. Really fun stuff, and Wild Shape, I think, is the big quote-unquote hit single from that particular album. So if you want to check them out, try that song, and if you still have some juice left for your air guitar by the end of it, just keep playing more Owlbear songs. They're great.
All right. Well, I see Kellen's Metal Carpetam, and I'm going to raise it a Stan Garrigal.
These two seem to go together.
Yep, they seem to go together. They were in my stack, and this has got a member or two from Metal Carpetam in it. And I am, unlike Kellen, I am no problem with the language problem here. So I'm just gonna roll this track name off. Sedem Madrikolov Plijad. I mean, see. All Czech people, send your compliments to the Heavy Metallurgy email address. Yeah, I think this is a little bit. I think there's some similarities between the bands. There's epic vibe in both bands for sure. This one here, let me see here. There's fierce black metal vocals kind of at the core of this, which is awesome. Very epic in scope, musically, very strong atmosphere. The bass on this track in particular adds a very impending melody line. Well, if you want to call it a melody line, but there's a separate bass line that's very prominent in the track. Adds a lot of depth to the song. The song itself is very enchanting and mystical. There's these guitar lines. I don't know if it's guitar or synth. There's like emeralds or something like glistening in the sun is what it's weird. It's weird mental images it brings up, but This is really awesome, triumphant black metal. I guess you could kind of lump it into the Viking Bathory kind of march stylistically. I snoozed on this. Ben tried getting me into this band a long time ago when their first album dropped, and I kicked myself for not just getting it. Yeah, right on. So listen to Owlbear, Mike, and be a changed man for sure. But yeah, this is an excellent band. I like Melicarpitan as well. I think that is a little bit more experimental of the two, especially on the last Melicarpitan album. There's some really cool, interesting things on here. This is more orthodox, triumphant, epic, marching black metal. Awesome, harsh vocals. Check this out. This is their latest album. Za Stri Borno Horo. So there you go, Kellen. Rent my video on how to speak Czech, and then
I have so much to learn.
You have so much to learn. It's all about confidence. It really is about confidence.
Just follow
Right.
Marty's simple
Right.
13-step video program, and it will definitely check all the boxes for you to learn that language.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
it's one of those things. It's like I'm really good at understanding the language, but it's the confidence to speak it that I have.
Confidence. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's always the trick. You don't, even if you're wrong, if you sound confident enough, who's going to challenge you?
Exactly.
Like,
First
no,
step, look in the
It's
mirror.
not pronounced haro. It's pronounced haro.
Look in the mirror and say, "I am Kellen. I am good enough to speak this language."
All right.
I am important and my thoughts matter. Ah, Jesus. We're turning into
Yes.
one of those yoga meditation channels here.
Yep. Hot fart yoga.
What?
The hot yoga. I can just see a bunch of people in there in tight pants farting. It's every time I go by a Bikram yoga, I can only imagine what the inside of that place smells like. Farts and BO.
Is the fart
Sorry.
part of the yoga routine? I don't know where this is going.
Well,
Now
they're
I'm
all
lost.
stretching and doing all these weird. There's
Yeah.
got to be some farts. There's got to be farts happening. It's just the first thing I think of. I just want to go in there and just see if it smells as bad as I can imagine it does. But I don't know. It's just a weird thing that I have in my head. I don't know.
I'm picturing this as like some kind of like particular sub-discipline of like tantric yoga, but where the whole emphasis is like expunging things from the body through
You're releasing things.
Yeah,
You're releasing. Yes,
that's what expunging means, Marty. Come on, see, I sound confident, so you believe it.
exactly. Yep. Bunch of people in a hot room farting. It's got to be it. Paying good money to do so. Kellen.
All right.
Okay,
So
I'm going to put this together. Well,
we're up to 2019 here for me. I've actually talked about this band a few times on this channel. But 2019, their debut full length comes out, The Night Lore, Vulture's Vengeance, Pathfinder's Call.
That's
here.
a great record. Holy shit.
we'd
It's
pick something
awesome.
by then. Yep.
I mean the album artwork, and it's super cool band, really unique sound, out of Italy. But specifically what grabbed me about the Pathfinder's Call is I think the lead guitar work on this album is sensational. There's a couple of solos here, but the main solo on this track is just like incredibly well crafted, has a sense of direction and purpose and meaning. Like there's few bands that you can kind of single today, like I'm here specifically for the solos here. And I think Vulture's Vengeance is a band that sort of deserves to be considered like that. There's plenty of bands that have like very talented lead guitarists, but few that you would sort of isolate and say there's one major attraction here. Yes, this band rules, but more importantly, the lead guitar work here is sensational and noteworthy. Pathfinder's Call is my favorite track on this record, and just a killer album in the epic heavy metal style from a band that probably doesn't get enough attention. They don't tour the States. They have a vocalist that kind of sounds like a interesting mix between Blind Guardian's Hansi and Tim Baker from Zero Ungle. So like it's a weird sort of vocal style, but unique band. And the Night Lore from 2019 is 100% worth your time. The song Pathfinder's Call.
Yeah, good pick. I think the title track from the second album also is a really good fit for this topic. If folks have a chance to hear the Dust Age instead of that one, that's a killer song.
I was pretty blown away by that record. I expected just, kind of lumped in with the other new wave of traditional heavy metal type.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're right. The guitar work, shredding, it's great vocalists. The songs are awesome. I'm like, it's a definite standout in the genre for me.
Agreed.
I haven't heard much of that. And I'm glad to see other people agree with my assessment of the whole farting in yoga class thing. I mean, I'm obviously, if I come walking into a yoga class, people are going to snicker and laugh.
There was a lot. You got started. You got started on that one, and there's a lot of Bikram yoga classes you must have walked past.
It's in the same strip mall that the UPS store that I use all the time, and every time I drive by it, the door's propped open. I'm like, well, fuck yeah, they've got to prop it open. It's too hot and it stinks, and it's a bunch of women in there farting. They're airing it out.
I still don't know what to think about all that, and neither does he.
Oh,
yeah,
adorable.
This is like the biggest, dumbest, most lovable cat. If I'm not careful, I will have to pet him nonstop for the next 20 minutes here.
We're a cat-friendly channel between him and Moo Cat.
And this is a friendly cat.
Yep.
He weighs 20 pounds, and every time he shifts his weight, he manages to step right on my nads.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, move the foot. Come on. There we go. Hi, how we doing, everybody? All right, let's see. Wingnut, can we make a pick? Can you say hi to the people? He usually likes being on camera, so we'll see. Anyway, this is a very new pick. It's a 2026 song, so maybe it becomes a classic. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I was floored the first time I heard it, and it was just a random YouTube feed pick kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, that came out maybe a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, okay. I haven't heard that band in a while. Let's see what they're doing. And I was just like, damn, that's good. It's the lead single from the new Monstrosity album. It's the lead track called Banished to the Skies, which right away I liked the title because sky is not usually where you banish people. It's more like banished to hell, banished to the outlands, banished to some kind of obscure, out of the way, subterranean kind of place. Sky, you usually think of like, okay, you're ascending, you're going up. It's more of like a positive thing. Don't chew on the headphone cable there, buddy. Might need that. He didn't get to be 20 pounds by not chewing on things. But yeah, this is just a fantastic song. Monstrosity have always been good musicians, and everything really shines through here really nicely. They had a new vocalist for this album, if I remember correctly, and he sounds terrific. I actually prefer him to the previous vocalist just a smidge. Thing that I like with the song too, it is not trying to overwhelm you with anything except talent. It's not trying to be the heaviest song you're going to hear this year. It's not trying to be the most technical track you're going to hear this year. They're not trying to be show off or abstract or fuse weird genres together just to get some extra clicks. It's like, this is going to be a pretty mid-tempo, on the slower side of mid-tempo death metal composition, and it's going to build. We're going to have amazing lead guitar work. The drum performance, of course, is always going to be top-notch when you're dealing with Monstrosity. We're going to showcase the new guy behind the mic and show you that, yeah, he's got a very powerful but clear kind of growl, really good kind of deep bellow, but still decipherable, not just guttural for the sake of it. I thought the song was superb. As soon as I could, track down a copy of it. The whole album is quite good. Marty, you mentioned one that'll probably be on your year-end list earlier with Immolation. Monstrosity will probably be on my list. It'll certainly be on my middle of the year list that we've got coming up in a few weeks with an episode. Does the song have the legs to become a long-term classic? I think it's got potential. It may not get there. Maybe a year from now, we've all forgotten that it even exists. But again, the emphasis was on trying to point out newer things tonight. So I'm like, what the heck? I want to mention a song that's only a few months old, but that I think it's just showcases everything that makes Monstrosity really great. And they're still doing it after all these years. So Banished to the Skies. Now, while y'all talk, I am banished to pet this cat.
All right. Well, circling back around to The Underground Awaits Us All by Nile, the latest album by Nile. The lead off track on here is, okay, here we go, Stelia of Vultures. Wow, absolutely chaos. It is so imposing. Just turbocharged death metal. This is one of those bands that has been advanced all along. Obviously, they started off early. They had kind of an old school sound, but as they developed and kind of adopted the Egyptian, the full essence of Egyptian death metal, they got more and more and more complex, and now they are just operating at a level with George Colias on drums. Absolute methodically composed and just chaos. It's swirling chaos like the cover here. It's listen to the track again today if it was as the one I was going to pick, and I'm like, oh yeah. And the thing of it is, it can be a little overbearing how complex and attacking it is, but they somehow, their sound is so pristine in the way it's captured, the way they record it. And George's drumming is so tight and commanding. This band has their own style and way of building songs that are challenging yet still very entertaining. The whole album is great. Really, it's an exercise in technical death metal 101, but it's super special because of the Egyptian themes, and he seems to have a bit of a lineup issue. He's changing lineups a lot, but somehow it still sounds like Nile at the end of the day. So, all right. Carbon Stars. Does that cat come with a sweater?
This cat sheds like nothing I have ever seen. I could knit a sweater out of what I brushed out of him just today, and I brushed him 2 days ago. He doesn't have hairballs. He has giant balls of yarn come out of him. Don't you, big guy? Yet he never yaks. He can sit here and lick himself all day, and
really,
he never. The other cat will barf if you look at her funny, and she doesn't shed hardly at all. This one, yes, he sheds like a yak, but he never actually yaks.
Well, that's good. All right, Kellen.
All right, so this might be like the most underground pick of my selection here this evening. But near and dear to me because
I'm worried because you picked Meth Drinker at like
I know. I mean, Pete's the reason is there's very little. I guess there's a very small label, and this band I was on Sorted Curse back in 2017 when this was released. The only reason I knew about them was when I was living in Kansas at the time, and I had a radio show where a portion of it would just kind of focus on bands from the area. So if you were in parts of Nebraska or Kansas or northern Texas, these are not like sprawling areas in terms of population and metal bands. But I got a hold of this one and absolutely loved what they were about. So this is, I think they are originally from Nebraska, moved to Kansas City, and now reside in California. But this is Garroted. And the track I'm choosing here is Scourge of Thy Flesh, which I think is the 6th track here. I remember I was talking to Jurgen, and I think he mentioned something about the kind of how Cannibal Corpse had sort of recycled and sort of, I don't want to call it like augmented a lot of Slayer riffs. This band kind of falls into that side of the latter portion of Cannibal Corpse's catalog, let's say like Vile up through Bloodthirst, but there's also a whole lot of sort of, I don't want to call it like Brazilian death metal going on here as well. So the likes of Christian and Rebellion, stuff that was happening at the late 90s, early 2000s when I was getting into death metal that I was super interested in. But this band takes me back to a time period when I was, doing research for a radio station and kind of discovered this Nowhere Nothing band. They've since signed to Lava Dome, which is a label that I really like, European label. But man, I don't. This is not going to be a liquid metal choice or decibels. Important records of the generation or whatever. But for me,
Hall of Fame.
yeah, Hall of Fame, yeah. But for me personally, like I absolutely love this band, what they're all about, and I'm happy to see them still kind of doing their thing. I think their last full release was in 2023, so they're still around and kicking. But that's the song where I discovered them. Anyway, wrote it, Scourge of Icelash.
All right, Alan.
The cat has moved, but just to try to make my point, I don't know if it'll show up. I put this shirt on right before, and now it is nothing but a sheet of cat hair.
There you go.
So yeah, looks like I'm doing laundry tomorrow. Thank you, Kitty. But don't eat the record. No, he's exploring. So if there's a loud crash and I only have one cat in about 10 minutes, we'll know why.
Oh, he's going. He's making a move.
Wingnut. His name is Wingnut. The little guy named him. See, I'm watching you. They're watching you. Yes, we've gotten distracted. Let's try to get this in here, and then I'll go entertain him for a minute. Next up, Royal Hunt from their Show Me How to Live album. There are 2 tracks on here that could qualify for this. The title track is the one I've picked, but Hard Rain Coming would also work. This band works in the sort of progressive metal stylings, very keyboard heavy. The keyboard player is the main mastermind behind the project, classically trained guy, really good songwriter. The secret weapon, however, is the vocalist, DC Cooper. We're going to have to go deal with that cat. But yeah, we'll make this one a short one. Show Me How to Live. If you like DC Cooper's voice, she's sang in a couple of projects for power metal and progressive bands. He's one of my favorite vocalists the past couple of decades. He sounds superb on Show Me How to Live. The band, some of their albums are better than others. This has been one of their really good sort of later phase albums. They've been around for decades now. Can't go wrong with Show Me How to Live. And if you need a follow-up track, Hard Rain Coming is an incredible 1-2 combination on this particular album. And while Marty shows us next one, I'll go get a kitty out of the record stacks.
All right. Let's go with a 2013 comeback album for UK's Carcass with Surgical Steel. This album surprised the shit out of me. I didn't know what to expect. I was hopeful that they would come back, right the ship. This is a Nuclear Blast contract, so they probably make good stuff again. I wasn't a big Swan Song fan. And Heartwork, great record, just not what I think of when I think of Carcass. And this, to me, felt like the would have been the good transition album between Necroticism and Heartwork. That's kind of where this sits for me. Especially on tracks like Captive Bolt Pistol. It just has that attitude and snarl to it that you would have found on Necroticism. I picked that song. I think this is a great song. This whole album is really good, a bit long, but it's Carcass the way I wanted to hear them a bit more. I appreciate the evolution that they did on Heartwork. It's very sophisticated. There's a bit of a melodeath influence worked into it, which just doesn't suit a band named Carcass, in my opinion. I wanted Necroticism Part 2, but I still love the hell out of Heartwork. But like I said, this is a very much a transitional record, but it could have went back after Necroticism and fit in just perfectly well. Great record. Captive Bolt Pistol, one of my favorites on the album. Kellen.
Okay, so I think if Alan wants to say that the track from Early Moods is his doom song for this time period, I think that's fair. But for me, Lord Vickers, this is off of Black Powder. Track is Sulfur, Charcoal, and Saltpeter. The opening track here, I think it's 17 minutes long. And I guess like metal specifically doom metal, sometimes it's not very good at like communicating like communal sadness, but personal loss or personal sadness. Like I think it can do an incredible job when it's at its best at getting that across. And this opening track, I think, is the best doom song I've heard. Like I'd be hard pressed to think one in the 21st century that's potentially better than it. It is like a crowning achievement for doom metal in the 21st century. I am obsessed with this record. More specifically, this song is just harrowing. The Finns, man, you do sad and broken in a way that few can. And this album goes places in terms of, I guess, tells a story of like kind of Christian alchemy and repression that I guess children experienced during the course of Finland and sort of their religious sort of medieval era. But it's so dark. And Christian Linderson, who's been in a few different doom projects over the years as the vocalist, his work with Kimi Karki from Reverend Bazaar. Reverend Bazaar had this like, it was kind of a carnival, a little bit proggy. They kind of went places.
I like that band. I liked them. I liked them better than Lord Vicar.
And I think really important to establishing what Finnish doom was kind of all about. But this is much more stripped down when I think about what Lord Vicar has to offer. And it is an unbelievable doom record. So the track here is, once again, Sulfur, Charcoal, and Saltpeter. Opening track here in Black Powder from 2019.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting. I like Lord Vicar, but I haven't heard that particular album. Yep. Oh, now we've got the other cat being a problem. This one is not a lap kitty, so she will go on her way pretty fast. Go on. I usually don't let them in the record room, but they're causing a ruckus out there, so I thought it might calm them down if they got a little attention.
Just out of curiosity, how many more did the two of you have?
Just those two.
Just two more?
Oh, wait, no, sorry. I thought you meant cats.
Yeah. No, just how many more albums or songs do you have?
I can do like half a dozen easily, but I don't have to do all of them at all. How many are you at, Kellen?
I just have a couple left.
Okay, that's fine. We can certainly. Oh, it looks like that's probably going to be plenty because it's already after 11:30. Marty, you in good shape?
Oh yeah, I'm prepared. We got her.
Okay, we'll do two more rounds after this, Kellen. That should put us right about the end of your stack, and kind of round out our time.
I'm sorry, I got three more. I have three more. I miscounted here, but yeah, three left.
You had one job, Kellen. It was count to three. You had one. You had three jobs. 1, 2, 3. No, it's all good. 3 works just fine.
Okay.
All right.
Good call on that, Eric. I have the first 2 Wandering Midget albums, and they're fun. Good, weird band. Cool. Anyway, go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Let's see.
I didn't want to type.
Let's see. This was sort of a comeback album. The band had been off the map for a while, but St. Vitus came back. I think this was an album club pick for y'all. Lily F65. Weird name.
Was it?
I think y'all did this one once upon a time.
I don't
know.
No,
we did Die Healing.
Okay.
You did Die Healing, and then you came to the rescue, Alan, because you were afraid that we were going to lambast it, and you were like, how dare you potentially assault this Doom record?
Well, yeah, it's only one of the best Doom albums ever recorded.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But with this one, this was the band coming back after a long hiatus with Wino back behind the mic. They've kind of gone back and forth with their vocalists, of course, over time. This one is a pretty good album. I think it runs out of steam near the end. But before that happens, you have one absolute killer track on here called Blessed Night. It's not a particularly long song, and it's actually not a particularly slow song. Vitus usually really stick to that crawling kind of pace. But Blessed Night has a little bit more tempo to it. It moves, maybe it's not quite as upbeat or gallopy as something like Children of the Grave, but it's got more of that kind of power and energy about it. There's more emphasis just like on the percussion and Wino's vocals. It's got a really cool cadence to the verses that makes it stand out. It's very catchy. And as a shorter, relatively faster song, it's an easy one for people, I think, to latch onto and want to sing along, kind of pump your fist in the air. Works perfectly for that. I don't know if it's become a staple in their live set or anything. I'm not sure how much Vitus actually gets out and plays live. Again, they tend to have breaks between albums. I don't know how they figure out who's singing on which album, if they're flipping a coin or what. Because after this, you get Scott Reegers back in the band for the self-titled album that came out several years ago. But Blessed Night, just this real sort of pounding, get the blood pumping type song. It's perfect for Wino's voice too. He's got that deeper, gravelly, slightly menacing tone. Blessed Night was made for Wino to sing. So I think it's one that definitely should be considered a modern classic among heavy metal doom tunes. Might not be up there with Lord Vicar and Early Moods, but it's just like maybe one step behind.
All right. Well, someone was wondering about it in the chat, and of course I pulled it. So we're going to talk about Skyfall, Halloween. The closing track on the self-titled came out, 5 years ago at this point? Yeah, it makes me wonder. Obviously, it's a great song, written by Kai Hansen, who's got a solo album coming out next month. Why all of a sudden so many people came back to this band and was singing the praises? Well, they basically took an old formula that worked perfectly well and did it again perfectly well. But this time you have 3 different singers that are all iconic in their own right. And it made this song and this album pretty special. And yeah, this is one of those, this is a 12-minute long track. There's 2 different versions of this single with different track lists. It's so annoying. Made me dip into my pocket so many times. You bought
both of them, didn't you?
Oh, I have both of them. Yes, I do.
The monkey got you yet again.
The monkey got me. Yep. But yeah, this is one of those tracks. There might be 1 or 2 on the album that might be a contender for being a tie with this, but I do think they ended the album on the right song. And this was the single for the record, which it makes sense. They knew the power play. They knew the power play to get everybody interested in coming back. It's a perfect song. It's a great song. It's long. It's interesting. There's a good variety in the vocalists. I mean, I'm sure everybody would love Mr. Kiska to sing on the whole thing, but everybody has their crack at it, and it's an excellent song, and it brought them back into the limelight, which, awesome. Glad for that.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Yeah, it did everything it needed to sort of quote-unquote relaunch them with that new configuration.
All right. Kellen.
All right. So back here in 2019, man, I kind of mentioned with the meth drinker in terms of what the sound that I was kind of into in terms of the sludge stuff. But this band seems to be like one of the very few holding on to a sort of fading style that I still think is really interesting, or they do this well. So this is off of this is Inter Arma, and Sulphur English is the record. But Howling Lands is the track here that I'm talking about. They are probably best known for sort of incorporating a sort of, you want to call it a post-metal sound, but like Gateway of Annihilation era Morbid Angel into this. There's sort of like a death metal sort of crawl creep that defined that era of latter Morbid Angel that they like to bring into their sound. Howling Lands, though, recalls a time period. So for me, Enemy of the Sun and Through Silver and Blood are the Neurosis records that I think are like the apex of their catalog. I don't think there's even a snare drum in sight for Howling Lands. It is just a sort of tribal roll through sort of a sludge track. Now, it reaches deeper into this kind of like harrowing, I don't want to call it like necessarily Southern sound, but all the sort of tension and claustrophobia that I think make great sort of post-metal records that I think are the best in the catalog. There's a little bit of that going on here. So it's a standout track on a record for a band that I think is doing something that, while the rest of the world seems to be fading and going in the opposing direction, they've still managed to make interesting and relevant in a time period in which it's sort of basically no one is sort of doing in a way that feels provocative anymore. So Howling Lands from Inter Arma.
All right, Alan.
All right, we'll go over to Greece for a different flavor of Greek black metal with Hail Spirit Noir. This definitely goes more on the cosmic side of things. If you're not familiar with them, the easy comparison is Arcturus. You just think Arcturus and you're at least in the right part of the solar system. Fossil Gardens followed up an album that I have not heard. A lot of fans were not happy with the previous album. It seems to have gone a little too far off the interstellar map. This one, however, has gotten a really great reception. A lot of folks consider it their favorite in the band's catalog at this point. The track I am going with is, I think, track number 2. Track number 3, Curse You Entropia. The previous song is great as well, but the two songs flow together really nice at the start of the album. Curse You Entropia just has this great kind of swaying rhythmic structure to it. The chorus, they sing it like in this very angry voice, like he's personified this thing that he's railing against. Curse You Entropia. But the music isn't angry. It's just, the vocal delivery is really selling that part of the story. It's not a concept album, just for the story of that particular song. So, yeah, it's got everything it needs. Excellent musicianship, a really cool style that I don't think a ton of bands necessarily have ever done well enough to make me want to keep revisiting them. Arcturus, of course, nail it. Hail Spirit Noir is extremely good at it. It's a style that I can get tired of real fast if the bands aren't top notch. Curse You Entropia, it's a catchy song. And this is a style, again, where sometimes it gets a little too cold and just a little too out there, where Arcturus, sometimes you find things that it's a little hard to glom onto certain aspects. It's not a band that uses like a lot of riffs. Hail Spirit Noir, it's not that it's riff-centric, but they're giving you enough handholds to really connect with the songs. So they feel kind of, that same intellectual, cosmic, spirited type of black metal, but delivered in a way that's also very song-based. So it's not sweater black metal. It's not like that, but I don't know. Maybe it's like one of those fake turtleneck sweaters where it's just like the turtleneck itself, but not the full length thing. You just wear it under your jacket to make it look like you're wearing a turtleneck. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? There's a name for them. I have no idea what it is.
Isn't it a mock turtleneck? Is that what they call them?
Maybe that's it. But regardless,
my turtleneck knowledge is rather limited.
Yeah.
Same. I live in the South. Turtlenecks, I
think my mom squeezed me into one for a school picture once, and that was a sight to behold.
We wander out in the swamp and scoop a few up to put in the soup. We don't wear them. That's an abomination. But no, Curse You Entropia is not an abomination. It's a fantastic song on a fantastic record by a very unique and pretty original band that not many people talk about. But yeah, this album in particular, and this was just a couple of years ago, so it's an active band. A couple of the members put out something this year under a different name that looked really interesting. It was funny because it was actually just like a really straightforward, more almost symphonic black metal project. I'm like, wow, I'm surprised they would want to release something like that, but it's just different creative outlet for them, I suppose. I can't remember the name of the new project. It was something in our promo band. It's like, oh, cool, members of Hail Spirit Noir. Wow, this is pretty simple, straightforward stuff by their standard. But anyway, Hail Spirit Noir is a cool one to check out for fans of Arcturus and similarly minded interstellar travelers.
Brian Arkham says it's called a Dickie.
Dickie, yes. Thank you, Brian. That is what it's called. Yep. I think it's more like a something that women wear, like business attire, but they don't want that many layers on.
Yeah, there's jokes in here. I'm just going to let them slide on by here.
If it's called a dickie, I mean, come on, folks, that's such low hanging fruit. I'll read them while you show your next one, Marty.
All right. Well, we're going with the song Revolution Underway from, what year was this? I don't think I wrote it down. Well, it's not too far away. Damned If You Do by Metal Church. The song Revolution Underway. There's always a familiar tone to this track. I love the pre-chorus and the chorus. It's just one of those, it's a very emotional song, which I always resonate with those the most. And I couldn't figure out what it was with the tone of this thing that what it reminded me of. And when I threw it in today to remind myself if the song is the one I was indeed thinking of, it starts off, it's set up in the same way the song Badlands off their third record. It was the lead-off single. What the hell's the name of that record, Alan? Blessing in Disguise. The song Badlands, this damn Revolution Underway is kind of the same feel. It starts off with a jangly, clean guitar and goes into, more of a mid-paced power and excellent chorus. Love this song. This is a really good record. Rest in peace, Mike Howe. It's unfortunate. I really liked this album and the one that came before it. 10 or 11?
11.
9? It's 11, yeah.
It's a number.
So, it's a number. It's a Roman numeral number. It was 11.
Yeah, it's 11.
But both of them are really solid records, really well written, and Mike just had a good voice. He fit Metal Church really well. So, great song from a hit or miss band for me, but good stuff. Kellen.
Obligatory. This is Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire.
I knew one of you two guys would name that song.
we both
and
had it. Wonder Twin Powers activate.
Yeah. So, this was the first track that I heard for this band that kind of grabbed my attention. Uzi Unchained, in the same way that I would talk about the lead guitar work for Vulture's Vengeance, I think Uzi Unchained as a lead vocalist is just a talent. He's got a unique sound to his voice. I think for a band that I think in some ways, and I know Alan's complaint is sort of their limitations as instrumental sort of, whatever.
They need a lead guitarist real
Where's
bad.
the guitar?
Yeah. He's not a good lead guitarist. He's a good songwriter, but
right. If they could pull a little bit of what Vulture's Vengeance has into this band, it would be a major assistance.
I'm on board.
But he has the ability to sort of captivate you almost solely as a singer here. So much of their songs are really dependent on his performances. And man, when this thing gets going, there's like a crazy sort of breakdown in the middle of it where he's almost just kind of not quite singing, is more sort of like narrating. And then we get a sword that feels like it's unsheathed before this rest of the song goes into battle. It's just a really cool dramatic moment that begins this record. Man, there's probably other tracks that are worthy for me. I really like the second one here, Vereen, and Songs of Victory on side B. But this opening track for this band, I think really put them on the map. One of the greater sort of trad songs to come out in recent years.
That song, it's another one. It's kind of like Entranced by the Wolf Shook. It's the best song on the album, and they put it right up front. So I want more of that epic, triumphant. It feels like you're on the hill overlooking that shoreline on fire. It's just so good. But the rest of the album is it's really good, but it's not that quality. They really nailed it on that. And the way that the singer interacts with the music and empowers it. He's such a great voice. Love it. All right. Alan.
All right, let's see. I will pick. This is a personal favorite. I don't think this song ever got a whole lot of attention or distribution to my knowledge, but it's the lead track from the second Horrendous album. The track is called The Stranger. I knew Horrendous from the debut album. The Chills was one of those things I randomly stumbled upon online and connected with. It had kind of a cool old school death metal sound at a time before it was all over the place. Yes, for younger fans, there was a time when old school death metal wasn't just on every single street corner you passed by. So when I saw this one, I was like, oh, cool. Okay, let's pick that one up as well. But right away, the Stranger, with just in the first few notes, you can tell it is not going to be the Chills Part 2. The song develops very differently. They start to show a little more of their progressive side, which they've done more and more over time. But yeah, just it hooks you immediately. Just really great still guitar tone. The drums come in underneath it, and it's a really cool song. It isn't structured in your typical verse chorus verse type of song that's instantly catchy, but some of just the different aspects of it. There's just like one short verse they use in the middle where he's screaming like and fuck all the angels. That stands out really clearly. It's like you always remember that part of the song. It feels like a chorus, but then you go back and check, it's like they really only do it once in the entire song. They never circle back to that particular little couplet. But yeah, just the way the song immediately begins, it's like this will not be what you expected it to. Horrendous established that they were going to evolve, and they have somewhat with each album. Some people like that about the band. Some people don't. Some people feel it's a little too derivative. There have been times I've had trouble adjusting to new Horrendous albums because they have continued to drift away from just a core death metal sound. They take some time, but I usually eventually can wrap my head around them and enjoy the different albums. But The Stranger is a song I always come back to. This album has several other good ones on it, but that lead track immediately making a statement of like, here's what we sound like now. Come along for the ride, if you will. I've always really dug that particular track off this one. It was a great way to start the album and kind of show their intentions. The Stranger from Horrendous's second album, Ecdysis.
All right. Is this our last one?
Kellen?
Yeah, my last one. And I counted correctly this time. So.
Okay. So we got one round after this.
Yeah.
So there's one more round after this one.
So yeah, you get this pick, Marty, and then you'll have one more. This is your penultimate pick, not your final pick.
Okay, well, this is a last minute grab, but I remember loving the song In the End off of Anthrax's Worship Music. This is Joey Belladonna's comeback record. And color me a bit surprised. I really enjoyed this album and the one that followed it, For All Kings. Thought they were really well done. The songwriting was solid. Joey sounded great. He wasn't just following riffs. He was actually really doing a good job at singing independent vocal lines over some of these things. And this track In the End is also, I'm getting boos. Awesome. It fits really well. I really love the chorus on this. The song itself is a little bit different from the rest of the album. There's kind of like a pulse to it. The way it kind of pulses along until it gets to the chorus. Dig it. I'm a fan of these two albums of Anthrax, and I'm looking forward to hearing the third and final return of Joey. So Anthrax, love 'em or hate 'em, I still have a soft spot. I'm an old thrash kid. The Big Four were a very big deal in my teenage years. So all right, Kellen, last round.
Last pick, man. This was, a record that I was obsessed with back in 2023, and kind of broke me into a new world within heavy metal. So I think it's also unique because it is, depending on the format in which you purchase, you actually get a chance to hear the song. Because on the vinyl release, it wasn't present, but on the CD release, it is. So I'm talking about Sacred Outcry, and the song is The Sweet Wine of Betrayal, which is, I think, the 7th track here. It is, I think, like the emotional heart of this record. it takes a while for them to sort of build any sense of momentum, really. But as much as it's sort of had this like a power metal thing going on, there's equally as much of an epic heavy metal thing. And this track is the slowest out of the entire listen. But it is also like the emotional heartbeat of it. There's a moment where at the sort of the orchestration sort of swells, and I feel like, as simple as potentially the song is for power metal standards, I think it also has the most impact. So like I said, though, if you listen to the vinyl release, it kind of starts side B with like a narration. It doesn't actually feature the song. So either you're going to stream it or you're going to buy the CD. If you pick up the vinyl record, you are going to miss it. So anyway,
which is so annoying.
Yes.
My God.
I don't know why they did that. We've talked about it.
The label didn't want to pay for 2 LPs. Is why.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it is a sad reality. But of course, I have the CD and the vinyl, and
Monkey got you too.
That is my monkey found me in this conversation.
Yes.
Here, so.
It happens to all of us. That monkey gets in our wallets and turns us into his monkey bitch.
Yep.
All right. Last pick from me. I will go with a track from Seventh Wonder, The Testament. This is their last album to date. They made a video for this song. It was the lead single in advance of the album. And this is another Frontiers label project. Seventh Wonder leans in the progressive metal direction, but still very song oriented. This is not a show off how many weird chords and scales and time signatures we can cram into a song. This is a band that writes really good songs and just have very, very talented musicians on board. But the song is called The Light. It's track number 2 in the running order. And it's just insanely catchy. It's a very happy, upbeat kind of song, something that we don't always tend to think of as being a positive in heavy metal tracks. Sometimes we want things to be dark and powerful and kick our asses. The Light is not going to do that. But if you hear it a couple of times, it will immediately get stuck in your head. It's the perfect kind of chorus for a hit song in this style. Sadly, the vocalist Tommy Kervick left a while after this album, so I think the band's a little bit in limbo. I'm really hoping they find another really strong singer and carry on, because it's a great project. They've done a lot of very top-notch albums. Tommy was trying to pull double duty in 2 bands, and that can be difficult when both of them are vying for attention and are on different continents. So even in these days of sharing files back and forth and such, not always easy to pull that trick off. But The Light is a fantastic song if you just want something super catchy. Yes, a little more on the lightweight side, but sometimes those songs work absolutely fine. Cool project. And again, if you're hearing progressive metal and thinking, oh, no, not for me, give Seventh Wonder a chance. They're, again, really, really magnificent songwriters, not just technical musicians who forget to pay homage to the song itself. That'll be my last pick. So, Marty, I guess it's time for the final choice. Dum, dum, dum.
Well, I was holding off on this one, thinking that Alan would have pulled this, but I'm pulling The Course of Empire by Atlantean Codex. The song He Who Walks Behind the Years is an absolute master stroke of epic heavy metal. It is, first time I heard it, I was in awe. It was one of those go back and spin it 4 or 5 times. There's like this old part in the middle of the song where the riffs after it just are so triumphant, and it just feels like you're ascending. Oh, so good. This album is so good. It's very long-winded. There's a lot going on. It's a very deep record, but wow, that song in particular is a standout on a album full of standout tracks. So modern day epic heavy metal, I think these guys are at the spear tip of that for sure. They're the lead band as far as I'm concerned, and they're doing it without ripping off the forefathers. They don't sound like Manila Road. They don't sound like Sirathungal. They don't sound like Man of War or whatever else. They kind of have their own thing going, and I think it's awesome. And I got to thank Alan for turning me on to this band. Absolutely fantastic.
So I was super surprised that Alan did not pull either the White Goddess for Sol Invictus. I thought he was going to go for that one for sure. So surprise.
I intentionally skipped it because I was like, Kellen's going to expect it to be the first thing I show. I'm just leaving it on the shelf tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great track.
Yeah, I love it.
My favorite off of that is People of the Moon.
That's a cool song. Very cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we've talked about a few different times is, yeah, they're a special band for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that.
Hey, Scott. Hey, Consumer. Thank you both for your super chats. You guys rule. Thank you so much.
You, Consumer. Yep.
Good to see you, Scott. I haven't seen you here in a while.
Yep. Hope things are going well, Scott.
Well, there we did it.
There you go, folks. A whole bunch of great classic songs that aren't, from the 80s and 90s. Newer stuff, and not all brand new, but if you may have missed some of these in recent years, hey, you got the weekend to go check out and maybe find some new favorite songs.
Yeah. Kellen, as always, it was a pleasure to hang out with you and talk metal. We get to do it every Wednesday, the two of us on the Album Club. And yeah, great to see you. And Alan, always a pleasure.
Indeed. Always
no crossover tonight. I mean, I don't know if that was deliberate if you were avoiding.
I did pull the Megaton sword, but
okay.
I saw last minute you showed your list in the email. I'm like, I'm still going to bring it. We'll probably talk a little bit about it, but yeah. I
mean, there's so many songs out there that, it's kind of easy not to cross over. But yeah, well, I would have thought there might have been a few more that we were at least gotten close on. You never know. Lots of good variety here for folks to check out, I think.
Sure.
Awesome. And everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. Thanks for all the super chats tonight. You guys are super generous. We appreciate you. It keeps us rolling here.
Tons of good stuff mentioned in the chat as well. For folks who are watching this later, make sure you have the live chat scrolling as you watch the video. Probably should have said that 3 hours ago when you started watching the video. But
right.
Yeah, the chat always has tons of great stuff that we just can't get around to all the songs, but there's more listed over there if you need even more good recommendations. All
right. That's it. Logan. Kellen, do you have anything you want to shout? I know you kind of said.
No, I mean, I'll be here Wednesday for what ceremony is the band? I think it was your choice, right?
Cemetery, Black Vanity. This is
that's a great album.
We shall see. We'll see where we land on it. Awesome.
No, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think that's fantastic.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
It's one that, people have to think about. It's not just Evil Shade of Grey.
So I picked it. I figured that was of the first four, that was probably the weirdest one, Very strange.
Definitely the biggest change in sound, yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. Well, that's it, everybody. We appreciate you. Y'all have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day for those of you who are fathers, and cheers. See you next week.
Fart yoga.
It's a thing. That's what they do.